Weird.
We can't all make declarations of hatred at the same time. Hi, everybody.
There are dozens of us. Dozens!
你好中国这条西呢，我爱更尊重中。石油上。
Alson, help me up onto his casket so I can dance on it.
I don't care.
But how did you ever find us?
Oh, easy. We just read the screenplay you left us. Glom, gold! Glom, gold! Glom, gold!
You get nothing! You lose! Good day, sir!
I'll help you.
Everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Huh? Zappuccino.
All right, it is Thursday night in Tooney Town, my favorite night of the week, because it is time for everyone's favorite pop culture podcast on the internet. Today, it is time for Tooney Talk TV. Folks, my name is Marvin, and I am the Movie Monster, and I am thrilled to welcome you guys back to another killer week, and it is a special week here. So this week is actually the actual 1-year anniversary of Tooney Talk TV, but we are celebrating next week, next Thursday, on I don't know the actual date. I think it's like July 5th or something like that. But we are going to have a huge party. I'm hoping to have some special guests. We are going to play the Guess the Movie from the Terrible Review game again. There's going to be a lot to do, guys. We have got so much going on here on the Tooney Town TV channels. Possibly a big announcement coming your way very soon as well about a new regular show that we're going to be doing. More regular videos. Just a lot going on. A lot going on. So, guys, make sure you're keeping it right here where all the action. Nolan Thunder is here. Hello, Nolan.
Hi, everybody. Glad to be back.
Welcome back. Yeah, man, we did miss you last week. You know, you never had told us you weren't coming on, but everybody knew you were not going to be here because you were at the grand opening of Epic Universe. I mean, some things just don't need to be said. Nolan was doing very important things, and we are going to discuss that here tonight as well. I assume, just TLDR, good trip.
Oh my gosh,
right?
It was amazing. I can't wait to go into detail. Let's just say there was not very much sleep had during that trip, but it was worth every waking moment.
Oh, Nolan. Nolan was getting it on, huh? Very nice. That's what I like to hear, buddy. That's my boy. We were getting a little too in the weeds on almost doing a dirty joke, so I had to bring Martin out here to bring us all back to the sensible moment.
I am the living ice bath, it seems.
No, you're just too good of a person. Like nobody, I just feel like it's impossible to be, inappropriate or whatever around you, my friend. How are you doing this week? You doing good?
Yeah, you know what? I am doing good, and I'm ready for a good night.
Awesome. I think we're all ready for a good night. Lauren Connor is here. I think he's here.
You caught me with a mouthful of chicken. I'm frantically trying to swallow.
Hey, you know what? No, funnily enough, Nolan. Never mind. Martin's here. I'm not gonna make that joke.
I know where you're going. I am so glad you didn't. Let me rephrase. I'm eating dinner.
I pumped the brakes, my friend. So, guys, Trish not able to be here tonight. So she will be joining us next week. That is why the 1 year anniversary party is next week and not this week, because we couldn't do it without her. She was like, oh no, just do it this week. And I said, no, there's absolutely no way that we could do it without Trish. Kevin is on his way. Kevin's on a business trip right now, but he's still going to be coming in from his hotel. So we will, we will soldier on, gentlemen. We will continue, journeying toward Mount Doom. Even without Kevin Trish for the moment. So, Nolan Thunder, tell me. First of all, guys, just so you know, this is a show made for you and financed by you. So we count on your. Hold on one second, guys. I think that another member of our team just got here.
Please, no. Covered with scorpions. Covered with scorpions.
No. Covered with scorpions. Get them off me! What are you doing to my head?
Kevin, I have no idea what just happened.
Kevin! What's with the sexy backdrop and the pose coming in with the neck shirt?
Well,
like, bro, what we doing here?
Because I am currently residing in the historic Fontana Village Resort in beautiful Fontana Dam, North Carolina. Home. So I just learned this before I came on. So when they built the town, it was originally built by the super rich family. The wife was obsessed with Fontana, California, and then so they cleared out this whole area. It's owned by the Cherokee Indians. It's like we're like in the dead center. There's this giant, beautiful mountain, and it's so big that like they said the land was sacred because where we are is it essentially shatters any storm formation that builds around it. So like when the hurricanes destroyed everything, earlier in the year, it expanded the eye of the storm so wide that it protected the entire village, and then it just created Knoxville. But after they knocked down the original tree growth in here, because all the trees that are behind me are no older than like 75, 80 years old. The Army Corps of Engineers came in. And what they told the public was that they were building dams to supply water for Knoxville, when in reality they were building the dams to supply water to enrich uranium, because this was the original proto area to develop the Manhattan Project.
Interesting.
Ooh.
Look at you, just a wealth of knowledge. You could be a tour guide for this place.
I know, it's a lot of fun.
That is the longest story that still didn't get to the heart of what's up with the sexy pose.
Oh, cheats chair. I have no place to sit, so I'm sitting in front of a balcony, and here I'll open up a little bit.
We all get to watch the sunset with Kevin Apollo tonight.
No, like when seriously, when you with the sunset and like the top two buttons unbuttoned and the pose you were in, all I could think of was
I so badly want to see Kevin in an Old Spice ad now. Hello, ladies.
I think we need to get those thirst traps out there to get Bo on the show, because he gloriously no-sold us both, and I think Nolan too, when we all tried to get him on the show. But by the way, spoiler alert, that is not the last time we'll see Bo tonight. What did you say, Nolan? You confess what?
Oh no, I confess I was listening into last week's show at work today with my headphones on. I wasn't watching. I was actually constructing like a cooler thing. And while I was doing it, I just hear you do one of your surprise Bo de Mayo clips, and I hear that song playing. I just could not explain the amount of happiness that hit my heart when I heard that musical note.
Kev, if there is a single night for you to get out a cigar and a sifter of brandy, this would be the one.
This would be the night. This would be the night. But guys, also, you know, we made fun of Nolan's exploits while he was in Orlando, but I have photographic evidence that Nolan was wading into the beeve. Just, you know.
Oh my.
I had to put the picture up first in order to actually be able to do the joke. So it only worked, you know, with the actual picture. So
Nolan
this is a
was
show.
so busy. I'm sorry. It's like Nolan was so busy and epic that he was invading other people's X feeds.
Oh my god. Okay, we're gonna talk about that in a minute. We're gonna get through super chat first. Do you have that one like ready to go, Kev? Can you drop a link to that? Because
I will track it down.
It's somewhere. Or I could probably find it in my replies because I don't reply to very much. But I was amazed. But guys, this is a show made for you and funded by you. We count on your generous super chats to get us through the day. It is incredibly important for us to be able to get through all the show. Now, some of the super chats for some reason aren't showing up in StreamYard. So I will read it out loud here that Ewan Cumia gifted 1 Tooney Town TV membership. So thank you very much, Ewan Cumia. We very much appreciate that. And he asks, will Glomgold guest star in Harry Potter? Well, I mean, he would fit the bill of being an all UK cast because, you know, he's Scottish and whatnot. But now Regina Sharp's one didn't show up either. Hold on. Regina Sharp also says, I'm sorry, I can't put it up on the screen, but I solemnly swear that I am up to no good. And then, of course, because it's Regina Sharp, closed out with
Glom gold, glom gold, glom gold, glom gold.
Guys, you have to let me know if I miss a super chat here. Like I said, we do stop between stories to read your super chats. We take breaks for $50 or more, and I can see we've actually already got to take a break because William Thompson, the Plasma Man himself, gifted 10 Tooney Town TV memberships. Thank you, William Thompson, and welcome, man. It's good to see you here. Oh, that is great. Warren, anything you want to say to William Thompson? I know you
just
guys
that his hat is magnificent.
Yep. It is a magnificent hat. I want one just like it. And Liquid Fox also gifted the 10 Tooney Town TV memberships. Thank you very much, Liquid Fox. That is huge. Thank you so much, buddy. And Liquid Fox also had sent in a super chat that apparently YouTube deleted. So we don't know what it said. We don't know what it was about, but you know, we appreciate you, Liquid Fox, and hopefully we still get paid for it. But you know what? You guys deserve a clip, and therefore we have to go with.
Because I'm Flint Glom Gold, and I always will be. This world will beat you down, beat you with a stick. You stick.
Oh, that poor dog. That dog was having the time of his life. Liquid Fox for $2 Canadian says, me and Chef Eddie are hashtag Team Xander. Who's with us? Nobody.
No one.
Nobody.
Joss, maybe?
Maybe Joss, because it was Joss's self-insert. But, I mean, everyone hates him. Oh, my gosh. Willow says kick his ass and never pays for it. Kevin and I have had many a conversation about how Xander deserved a swift kick in the nuggets at some point during that show that never came. I mean, yes, you know, he does. I was almost about to give a spoiler, but I stopped myself because I realized some of you are still working your way through Buffy. But no, definitely not Team Xander.
Would it be a spoiler when there's 2 decades involved?
I feel bad because I know they're like actively binging it now. So Johnny Cage for $10 says, sorry, I haven't been around lately, but things have been crazy with work. Can't go into details other than the fact that, well.
Oh, I see. Oh, it was no one's fault. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Well then, problem solved.
Nolan, what are you doing, man?
I made Johnny Cage upset. If I've learned anything from Mortal Kombat, you never do that. So I do apologize, Mr. Cage.
Liquid Fox for $10 Canadian says, if the earth was a sub, we all be inbred. I suppose that was a subpar pun, but what do you expect from your most substantial sub? Speaking of subs, here's some new members because that makes sense, right? And that was when you gifted 10 Tooney Town TV memberships. So thank you, Liquid Fox. I appreciate your sandwich puns too. Funnily enough, that is my favorite food, is a submarine sandwich. So depending on
we all live in a yellow submarine.
Oh, I had a Publix sub last night. I got the chicken tender sub, and I had to put barbecue sauce, like smother the chicken tenders in barbecue sauce. That was good. John Williams for 499 says Nolan told the Bear to attack Kevin so that he'd miss the pay-per-view and the Tuesday stream. No, Kevin didn't make it to the pay-per-view because he didn't want to make it to the pay-per-view. And we would have lost. You would have been gone by the end of it. You would have been so incensed and angry during that malarkey in the arena match that it was just, no, definitely not. We'll talk about it more on Tooney Talk Wrestling. But Dragon Queen for $5 says, note, never give Jonas power. He only uses it once. Happy 1-year anniversary. Also my birthday tomorrow. Hey, happy birthday, Dragon Queen. You know what? I realize I don't actually have the happy birthday one on this settings, but I can play.
Please, no. Covered with scorpions. Covered with scorpions.
No. Covered with scorpions. Get them off me.
I'm not sure what's going on. It just keeps happening. Andre Adams for $9.99 says, "Ding dong, the wheel of time is dead." When I heard the showrunner's name was Rafe, I was like, "Yep, all the problems right there." Then I saw him and it was like confirmed.
That's my grandmother's maiden name.
I have met more than one Rafe in my life, of their first name being Rafe. It has never been a pleasant experience.
That was actually almost my name. And then
was it really?
And then it turned into Hannibal. And then my grandfather finally intervened.
Was like, no, you will not do that to this boy.
Hannibal's not bad.
Hannibal. Well, I think at the time my grandfather was upset because Hannibal Lecter was rising in popularity because the Manhunt was very successful.
We almost named one of our kids Marcus Furious after the second founder of Rome.
That's cool. That's a cool name. That's a name that carries you through high school. Like anyone tries to think about messing with you and they're like, his name is Marcus Furious. Do not. That's my name was almost Anthony when I was born. My father is Marvin Sr. I'm not a junior. I have a middle name and he doesn't. But my grandmother apparently at the last minute was like, "Oh, you're not going to name him Marvin?" And my mother was like, "I guess so." So thanks, Grandma. That's how I got saddled with that name. But
I just realized that would have made his name MF Stone.
Oh, that's even cooler. You have to write a mystery novel if your name is MF Stone.
You would have named him after a blaxploitation hero.
That black bear for $5 is F off, John Williams. I'm my own bear. I fight Kevin wherever I want, usually in the garbage. I realized I think it might be on the wrestling channel. Apparently I have the actual photo of you like standing off with the bear, which for those of you I'm going to switch over real quick. Hold on. Cause here's the here is the photo of you having your standoff with the bear.
Someone needs to add like the fistful of dollars music or something.
Absolutely.
Shame on you. Go home and think about what you've done.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much like, no, get out of here. Get out of here. Go. Oh my goodness. So thank you guys so much for your super chats. We will be checking in with those periodically throughout the show. We do take breaks in between stories to check in with you guys. We break for $50 or more. So if you send in a super chat of $50 or more, we do stop and do whatever it is you want us to talk about. So Nolan Thunder, you were there for the grand opening of Epic Universe. And we know that you were. We know that you're not lying, Nolan, because I don't know if you know this, you popped up. You actually popped up in someone's video.
Apparently I went viral.
Hold on, let me find it real quick because I know that I replied to it. So, but yeah, no, Kevin tagged a picture and I was like, oh yeah, what's this gonna be? And then I looked and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Nolan.
See, I have it if you need it.
I might need it in a moment. You put it in the chat.
Yep, got you going.
Oh, fantastic! Thanks, buddy. Yeah. So, here we go. I got it now. Let me just share the screen real quick. And I forgot that it doesn't just automatically pop up. So, all right. So Kevin sent me this on X, and
This is it.
here we go. Everyone's running into Harry Potter.
Wow.
Not a child in sight. Everyone's running in.
Just knock him to the ground. It's fine.
I'm like, oh, that's funny. Ever look at all these people that are running around. And there he is.
Filming premium B-roll for that park place. Thank you.
Premium.
It was incredible.
Premium. You caught the pandemonium there. So hold on. Because the camera stays with him. Now, this is not like somebody that was associated with our show, guys. This is just someone who just happened to capture the mad dash to magic that was the Nolan Thunder experience at Epic Universe. There he goes. There he goes.
Oh, no one's going this way.
Look at the way he runs.
like, I guess the camera can't keep off me. Oh my god.
Nolan, you know what? I have never seen you run before, but that is exactly how I always imagined that you would run.
Like I'm filming a dang video.
It's sort of a lope, like a graceful gazelle.
Yes, yes. You have a you canter. That maybe that's how we could. But you just canter on by.
Well, you know, I was too young to experience Black Friday
there he goes.
truly in its peak. So
I
I
had
had
one-
to experience it once.
I had this is nothing. This is nothing like Black Friday. You can actually move, and no one's injured you yet. But no, I didn't realize that it stayed with you. I had only watched that first part. So hold on, let's get a full glimpse of like the actual like sprint.
Tracking.
There he goes. There he goes.
This is madness. This is so
And now-
cool.
Wait, hold on, guys. Watch Nolan as he crosses through the archway here. Does he like give like one of the? Did you do like a little like jump and click your heels?
I think I did, yeah.
Because
A
I
gym
think
celebration.
I think that's captured here on video. Hold on. Watch him. Stick with him. Stick with him.
Madness. This is so cool.
Right there.
The only thing missing is like the Sonic Generations like pose thing you can do whenever you're jumping in the air. But you don't see very well here on the other side is there's actually a huge cast of employees actually like waving at you and giving you high fives as you come through. You feel like you peaked in life when you walk through that gate.
Were you like running through? It's like dun, 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 dun.
Yes.
Someone hands you the paper cup of water and you just throw it in your face.
No, like, okay, that video went viral, and I was just reading the comments on it, and everybody was like, look at these man children, how dare adults have fun, and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, did you all, like, never, like, you know, you can be happy as an adult, right? It's not like I was backslapping kids on the way through.
It's not like you were elbowing, like, children out of your way. No, I don't like this, the concept that adults are not allowed to have fun.
Somebody in the comments claimed that Nolan shoved a lady into a wall, so I'm not convinced that he wasn't just mowing down children.
I'm pretty sure that was his. I'm pretty sure that was your own mother. So, because that was the only person that I saw you like pushing.
Yes. Oh man, it's like we have like a system. Basically, it's like, all right, if when the crap hits the fan, you go here, I go here, and we coordinate to make sure we get the best footage possible and get to skip as much of the line as possible. It worked out. I got to walk right on to Battle of the Ministry, and I got the best B-roll imaginable. So worth it. It was a life experience. We were coming off of a speech from Steven Spielberg over the intercom prior, so we were pumped. It was like the home team won the football game. It was amazing, dude.
Oh, I believe we have some audio of that Steven Spielberg thing. I wanted to play that here.
Remember, Kathy came into the room with her steno pad and her pencil, and she was horrible at taking notes, and she was terrible, and she didn't really know how to do it very well. But what she did know how to do was interrupt somebody in mid-sentence. We'd be pitching ideas back and forth, and Kathy, who's supposed to be writing these ideas down, suddenly put her pencil down and would say something like, and what if he didn't get the girl, but instead he got the dog?
I'm really glad that he felt the need to talk about Kathleen Kennedy in the opening of Epic Universe like that. That's a class act, that Steven Spielberg. So now, Nolan, so that looked like pandemonium, but from what I understand from looking at footage, Epic was not like super crowded all day. They severely limited, which was infuriating to me because I really wanted to be there and it was sold out, that they severely limited the capacity.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because all of the crowds, like we were at the gate at like 4 a.m, and we were one of the first up at the gate, and we had a huge crowd of people coming behind us. So it was looking like it was going to be pure chaos throughout the day. But you could tell they were definitely limiting their sales, which makes sense for the first day because you're going to have, this is the first theme park opening in the social media age. And you're going to want to, they're going to have people filming every square inch of this park. So they want to present the park in its best light. For example, I love Disney World, but by a long shot, my favorite park is Epcot because every time I go to the Magic Kingdom, I'm not looking at the beautiful castle. I'm looking at the 200 million people in my way, and I can't even enjoy the scenery and Walt's creation. This presented Epic Universe in its best limelight, and I do not buy the people who are like, oh, Epic's barely getting anybody. They're doomed. They wasted all this money because the reality is, they were holding back. Me and my mother literally met a mother and her daughter, and they were there for day 2 because they couldn't get day 1. They got their tickets back in April. We got ours in October. So they have long been holding them out. And Marvin, you can probably attest to this. From what I heard, the crowds were actually better than the preview nights. Can you confirm this?
When I was there for preview, there were a lot of people there. So probably. It was probably better. Yeah, but now, so when you got there into Battle for the Ministry, the ride like shut down though, didn't it? Like you didn't get on it right away.
Yeah. So what happened was they basically, FYI for everyone in the audience watching, never listen to Universal Studios. They lie about everything. They'll tell you they're opening the gates at 6. They open at 4. It's like that kind of thing. They open like the gates like a half hour, an hour early. And then, so they let people come into the park, and then you wait like an hour at the gate to enter whichever portal you picked, and then they do the fireworks, the Spielberg speech. Then once they open in, that's when you saw that chaotic pandemonium going on in that video. We walked pretty much right through the ride up until wherever the crowd was going to stop and position you. Once we were parked there, we waited another hour, and the ride didn't even start up when it was supposed to go. So what ended up happening was the staff came over and basically said, we're adjusting the queue. In other words, they were kicking people off the ride.
Seriously.
Yep, the initial group, which we were already way ahead in the lines started going out apparently all the way out of the portal. Like the line was so long. And the first group, from what I heard, they kept them there and they waited like another 3 hours, however long. The people outside basically got kicked out, and the people in like the middle section, which we were pretty high up there, but still, I guess, considered middle, we got express passes basically to have a chance to come back on. And when we got off the ride, basically the staff was like, put those away in your pocket, kind of hide them, because they weren't giving those passes to everybody. So luckily, we came back sometime, I believe it was after the pro show I hopped on to get some footage of Epic Universe. We happened to be in the right place, the right time when they reopened it, and we walked right on to Battle of the Ministry. And
that's cool.
Just walking through that queue was magical. And I'm sure if Trish was here, she can remember the name. Perhaps you can. That fireplace transportation thing they had.
Blue Network.
The Blue Network. That was incredible. I did like a spin move into it. That alone was worth the price of admission. I like the queue better. I did the actual ride.
Well, I mean, the big thing that I got to ask is, what was it like walking into Nintendo for the first time?
So for that, I had already been to FanFest in California, so I got to already lose my virginity to Nintendo World. So that was already a magical experience.
Well, thankfully Donkey Kong wasn't there.
Let's go.
But I could not deny the fact that this Nintendo geek over here was still feeling like a kid in Toys R Us walking in. And going to the Donkey Kong area for the first time, just the amount of detail, the fact that you could play the bongos and have Rambi pop out, the DK minecart ride itself, everything about that area was so magical. The only thing that wasn't magical was how loud it is, but it was fitting with the monkey theme. So
you know what? I
fun.
saw a lot of people poo-pooing that area, and I was like, I don't understand that, because that was a really fun, really cool, like the ride itself. They were like, oh, it wasn't that great. I was like, that was awesome. Are you kidding me? I love the Donkey Kong coaster.
I cannot give enough accolades to it. It was a ride I was really hoping that at some point I want to come back so I can experience it at nighttime, because it's just nothing but thrills and turns and what you're visualizing going on. It's like the perfect blend of excitement. I feel like you get maybe easy motion sickness. Maybe you might not like it, but as someone who takes motion sickness medicine, because I have a really weak stomach, I still thought it was a blast. And it's one of the few rides I think I've ever rode, to not spoil too much here, where there's actually an animatronic in the line, like the waiting line. And it's one of the best animatronics you'll ever see in your life.
Yep, it is a good animatronic, and it actually sounds like, it's not really a spoiler because it's out there everywhere, but it's Cranky Kong, and he actually sounds like Cranky Kong should probably sound, because he actually sounds cranky and like an old man, and not like whatever that was in the Mario movie where it's like, we're gonna use carts.
What are you doing? Select your cart. That was so bad. That was awful. Oh my god, that was so bad.
That was the Donkey Kongs all of the Kongs in that movie were terrible, because Seth Rogen was a terrible Donkey Kong. But no, Nolan, I'm glad you had a good time. Real quick, how was Dark Universe? How to Train Your Dragon? Any kind of food?
Okay, I will say it is the best quick service stuff you'll ever find. I think Disney still has tastier food options, but what I will say though, the presentation is incredible. And did you go in the Toad Cafe, Marvin? Because
I ate there.
Oh my god!
One of the places.
Oh my god, that place is really so cool. Like the whole theme is like a cafe in the Mushroom Kingdom, and there's literally projectors on the wall or monitors that make it like there's toads in the kitchen. And I ordered the Princess Peach cake, which is supposed to look like the cake she bakes for Mario, and it's like double the price of the other desserts, but it was so worth it. Because that thing, there's literally a message from Princess Peach on the cake that's basically saying, "Oh, thank you, hero. Here you go." It's the sweetest thing.
Did you try to jump into the portraits in Peach's castle, because they were the portraits from Mario 64?
Yes, I got a concussion. I have a appointment with my doctor tomorrow about that, but it was worth it. If I can elaborate,
I did the Bowser Fireball challenge there, which was like a spicy meatball and like a Bowser like a puff pastry, and that was really good. And then we did the goal cake, which is like supposed to look like the goal with the flag.
Oh, I saw that. How did that taste?
That was good. Honestly, it was probably the weakest of the food there that we had, because we ate at Harry Potter, and that was the best food I've ever had in a theme park, let alone quick service food.
Did you try? I know I'm shifting portals here. Did you try the macaroni cone thing? It was like the hand witch from Alabama.
Sure did.
I thought that thing was gonna suck, and it was great. I could not believe.
They put everything bagel seasoning on the bread cone. How was it ever going to be anything but amazing?
I never would have thought to combine goldfish crackers with macaroni, but I'm gonna try that at home now. It was so good.
But at the Potter area though, we had a it was like a turkey sandwich with like fresh carved turkey on like a freshly baked baguette, and then it was exceptional. And we also had the butterbeer crepe, which was just out of this world, like knock you over. It was so good. And then over in Dark Universe, we got the garlic steak, and we got the little bites, the little mac and cheese bites that look like charcoal.
Oh, I actually wanted to ask about that then. I'm glad to know you went to the steakhouse, because I was excited to hear there was a steakhouse in one of these parks, but I was afraid it was going to be like, was it the Rose and Crown at Epcot, where it's a British style steak where it's not very good.
Well, so I didn't actually. It's not. I don't know if it's actually like a full on steakhouse.
Okay.
I think it's more of a play on words, because it's like a wooden steak steakhouse. So we didn't actually eat. We didn't actually eat in there. Nothing on that menu really appealed to me. Well, where we did eat, we ate at the Burning Blades Tavern, which is the Burning Windmill. Okay. And that was where we got the garlic steak and the little bites. But I mean, so I've heard a wealth of things about the steakhouse. I have heard it's great, and I have heard people got food poisoning.
Yeah, because what I was hearing was that it was just a quick serve place, not impressive in any way. It's not like going to Le Cellier at Epcot or something like that.
Yeah.
If we can shift this to, I remember you were asking about Dark Universe.
Yeah.
That so a lot of the areas when I first walked in, I was trying to get some footage for TPP and stuff, so we could use that later on. But that was the universe where I'm like, okay, I need to put the phone down because I know this world was made for me. And it lived up to the hype and then some. Like, we waited till it was dark because that's when it's made to go. And the whole aesthetic was just great. And it was hilarious because, you know, I had been filming with my phone all day, and then I used my mother's phone as a backup afterwards. So we basically had her phone super low on battery, and my phone was dead. And we were walking over to one of the rides. You know, it's dark out, and it has like this woods aesthetic, and it's like, wow, we're in every horror movie right now. We have a dead cell phone walking into a creepy forest. We don't know where we're going.
Yeah, my phone died there too at night. But from Sam Wolf, Life of a Military Wife, is asking if it's mostly coasters. There's only one like major roller coaster, which would be Stardust Races. But over in How to Train Your Dragon, they have another coaster that looked kind of intense. But
I thought that Wolfman ride was a coaster.
Oh, it is, and I did go on it, and it was actually really cool. So yes, there are roller coasters, but there are a variety of different rides. There's a slow-moving Yoshi ride that all ages can go on. The Mario Kart ride is like an augmented reality thing. The Monsters Unchained, which I didn't get a chance to do, but Nolan, what did you think of it?
Oh my God, it was one of the greatest rides I've ever been on in my life. Okay, I'll say it now. It is better than Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey.
Wow.
Islands of Adventure. It's the same kind of ride. I will not dare spoil anything for those that rode it, but we got to ride it twice because when we were exiting towards the end of the day, they ask you if you want to go on again or exit. So we rode it again, and it's just as good the second time. The amount of detail in its blend of screens and animatronics, music, theming, atmosphere, immersion, it's all great. And if there's something I can say to you, Sam Wolf, is even if there are a few coasters here, Stardust is really the only one that's more of a traditional coaster, like the How to Train Your Dragon one, that has a very interesting twist to still get like a huge immersion with it, something I've never seen on a ride before. And the one, Marvin can attest to this, the one at Dark Universe is, it gives you a twist you don't expect when you're going up in it. But other than that, most rides are something a little bit different. It's all about immersions there. And even if coaster's not your forte, like the shows are top tier. The best show I had ever seen before was the Cirque du Soleil show over in Disney called Drawn to Life, I believe is what it's called. This is on par with that. And if there's one last piece of advice I can give, if you're at Isle of Burke, the number one thing you need to do is go see the Untrainable Dragon show. And arrive about 15 minutes early if you can, because they usually start letting people in, I think, around that time. It was completely worth the admission. And it would be something that if they charged like $20 alone as a separate thing you had to buy, it would have still been worth it. It is next level on how good it is.
I mean, I have found in kind of closing that there are two kinds of adults that, you know, you can normally find in theme parks. There's this.
Oh my gosh. Oh, no one's on.
And then at the same time, there's this. That is Lauren Connor asleep at Dollywood.
It was a long day. We'd done a
It
lot.
was.
It is, you know, it's you take your naps when you can get them.
In his defense, at least Dolly wasn't there at the time of that moment.
Yeah, about that. Oh, at that moment, no, because she was.
Yeah,
she
not
was
the
there.
moment.
But that segues us into our first story, because Dollywood has defeated Disneyland and was named America's favorite theme park for a third year running. Yep. So there she is in all her wonderful, lovely glory. Dolly Parton just got by the way, that was her when we saw her there live, when Nolan and Lauren and I were there when she came riding down the street. So she just got another major victory in her legendary career. This time it's not on the music charts, but in the Smoky Mountains, where Dollywood just defeated Disneyland to be named America's favorite theme park. Now, according to the National Amusement Park Historical Association, or NAFA, Vegeta, what does it say about his power level? Dollywood has officially been voted America's favorite theme park for 2024 and its 39th annual amusement park and attraction survey. Now, this marks the third time in a row that the beloved Pigeon Forge destination has claimed the top spot, beating out none other than Disneyland, which placed second. This was founded in 1986 by Dolly and operated in partnership with Hirschland Family Entertainment. Dollywood has grown from a modest hometown idea into a national favorite, attracting more than 2 million guests per year across its 165-acre property. So yeah, guys, this place it's just so nice. If you ever get the chance to go, it is wholesome, it is fun, it is clean. This is when I was there at Christmas time, and it's just gorgeous at Christmas. It is such a great place to go, and just the fact that it beat Disneyland just really like made me smile today, because there are experiences at Dollywood that like really put the guest first, and that's one of the things that I think Disney has been missing in recent years. Now, Lauren, you have been to Dollywood, obviously. You slept through some of it, but would you say that this was earned? Do you think that like something like Dollywood could be America's favorite theme park?
It's difficult for me to say, because you guys get to the parks a lot more than I do, and I'm not really familiar with them. This was my first time going to Dollywood. I had a good time, but I'm also not a ride person. I tend to go to enjoy the food and the sights and the shows and whatever they have. The best part of Dollywood for me was actually riding the train. I had a lot of fun on the train. But I would have to go probably another couple times to really make a decision about how it stacks up against the others. Now, I should say the last time I was in Disneyland was, gosh, I think, let's just say it's been a long time ago. I think it's actually been, it's been a long time. I went to Universal about 3 years ago down in Florida. And then Dollywood, obviously, while I was there with you guys just a month ago. So I would like to get down to Epic Universe. I'm hoping someday we can all figure out some way to schedule times for all of us to be there, because I think I'd have a blast in Dark Universe. I think that's right up my alley.
You would love Dark Universe, Lauren. It is so immersive and so cool. Nolan, what's your thought? Because you've just been to both recently, Dollywood versus Disneyland.
So the answer is Epic Universe, but to actually answer your question, to Disneyland California, I would actually say Disneyland. Dolly World was a fantastic park. What makes it so great is the attention to detail, because they don't have the biggest rides, they don't have the biggest IP in their park, but it's the little things that add up, because they're clearly focusing on what they can do, which is guest satisfaction. I'm a little spoiled though on some of the smaller parks, because I am very close to Kings Island and Cedar Point, which both have won my hearts. They're like our family. It's like our home park. It's a park you could sleep at overnight if you had to. So I'm used to seeing rides at parks where they check the ride vehicles a little closer, they keep the parks clean. I'm a little spoiled on that regard. So when I go to Disneyland, I see the history, I see Walt, I see that Snow White dark ride where I see the passion in the 100-year history of Disney, or the extra attention to detail that's in things like the Chanticleer or whatever have you. So as someone who's very big on theming, I do believe Disneyland goes further, but that is not to discredit Dollywood, because I think there is a genuine reason why it's so popular right now. And I think one of that is you have to pay like $2,000 for a trip to Disney World, or if you're flying out to California, that cost is going to add up for those hotel costs. Dollywood, you pay $100 and you're also already around Pigeon Forge, which is already pretty affordable. So there's a lot going. So I think this makes complete sense, because I think right now, Dolly World is technically a more satisfactory family park. I think Disneyland has more perks going for it, but that's just my opinion.
Yep, I agree. But you know what? It's not all. Go ahead.
Can I break in and make a request real quick?
Please.
My mom is apparently watching. She texted to remind me that we went to Disneyland in 2014. If you would say hi to my mom, I would appreciate it.
Hello,
Mrs.
Mrs.
Lauren,
Connor.
Mom.
Hey, Mrs. Connor.
Thanks,
nice
Connor.
to see you. Glad you're here. Hopefully
Thank you for giving us Lauren.
Yes, thank you for Lauren. We enjoy him.
Yeah.
But guys, it is not all doom and gloom for Disney right now, because Lilo and Stitch is a powerhouse at the box office, and I'm not shocked by this. Lilo and Stitch dominates record-breaking Memorial Day box office, outgrosses Snow White's entire global run in 4 days. So this is not just about Lilo and Stitch, because it's Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning contributed to the biggest Memorial Day weekend in box office history. Now, movie theaters across the country surged with foot traffic as if both these films powered an explosive $322 million domestic box office total across all titles, which is a new high for the holiday frame. Families turned out in force for Lilo and Stitch, which earned $145.5 million domestic over the weekend. Was projected to close out the 4-day weekend with $183 million. That not only blew past industry expectations, but it broke the Memorial Day opening records previously held by Top Gun Maverick, which was $160 million over 4 days. Now it now stands as the second highest 4-day Hollywood debut or holiday debut in history, just behind Marvel's Black Panther. Not really just behind. It's 242 million versus 180, so it's still quite a bit. But meanwhile, Tom Cruise's latest outing proved formidable. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning drew older audiences in droves, earning a franchise best $63 million across the standard weekend and $77 million through Monday. It narrowly outpaced Mission Impossible Fallout's previous record of $61 million to become the top domestic opening in the series' 29-year run. So, of course, the 1-2 punch combined with strong holds from Final Destination Bloodlines, Thunderbolts, and Sinners push Memorial Day up to new heights. Now, the strong turnouts, way different from last year's Memorial Day, which was $132 million in total. That was ruled by Furiosa, Mad Max Saga, and Garfield. But Lilo and Stitch also added $158.7 million at the global box office, bringing its total to $341.7 million. That is a lot of money. Did anyone else see Lilo and Stitch?
I did, yeah.
What'd you think?
Saw it on Monday.
What'd you guys think? Either one.
Go for it, Martin.
I enjoyed it. Some things they changed they didn't really need to change. But a lot of the freak out over the Foster stuff was unnecessary.
I agree.
The freak out was unnecessary.
I agree. It was I think a lot of the freak out was by people who didn't actually see it, because
that's probably true.
What I took from it was, because on paper, when you hear about what happened, I don't want to get into too big. Yeah, it's been out. Whatever, guys. I'm getting into spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers, switch off for a couple minutes. But when you hear that, like, oh, well, Nani leaves. She leaves Lilo with a neighbor. Like, she goes off to college so that she can provide for their family in the future, and has a portal gun that allows her to come back at night. It's like she's leaving for like during the day and then like coming back at night. This is not the end of the world that people made it out to be. Lauren, what was your thoughts on this?
I'm going to push back on this. Now, I have kind of a weird perspective on this, because I loved Lilo and Stitch when it came out, the animated movie, but it's been a long time since I've seen it, so I actually forgot a great deal about it. But I took my son to see this movie because it's his favorite Disney animated movie. And
Really?
when we got out of the movie, he was ranting about this movie. He was sounding like I sound when I go on a rant, and that surprised me. And it was because of that ending and because of the change in the villain and some other things.
I didn't like the villain change either. I was not a fan of that at all.
He was very upset about that. And also, I think that after scene that you're talking about, I think that was a reshoot. I think that was
me too.
I think it was to soften the ending, because they realized, oh, we may have made a mistake here. And I think they did. There was no reason to do that. There was no reason to do it whatsoever. And I think it strongly undermined the movie. Now, the movie itself, up to that point, I think is pretty good. I think it was very well cast. I think the cast was very well done. I did not realize, this kind of surprised me, that Jumbo was Zach Galifianakis. He looks to me like he's slimmed down quite a bit. He does not. It's a shame that it wasn't David Ogden Stiers, but he's passed away. He's not available anymore. So that was kind of a disappointment. I was sorry that he didn't do the Russian accent, but I'm not sure that I would have gone to have seen this in the theater after having seen it. I think it would be a wait and watch for me.
I understand what you're saying because I have some sympathy for it. In fact, I was in a little bit of a Twitter exchange with Jonas and the lady from Nerd Cookies, and I was saying that I'm not crazy about the Foster thing. In fact, I think they made that change because they wanted Nani to have a character arc that made sense to college-educated, career-driven people who made this movie.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Now, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I still don't hate it, but I got aggravated because I'm like, you didn't have to put that in the movie. You could have just ended it the way the other movie ended, and everything would have been fine. Kevin, what were you gonna say?
Doesn't she wind up going to school in the cartoon anyway? Like just on the island?
Yes.
Maybe
Yes, but they do
in the
establish
animated
that
series, maybe?
Yeah.
They do establish, though, that the island they're on is not the big island. There are no big cities on the island in the live action version.
Yeah, cool. Because remember, originally in the cartoon version, the ending with them in the spaceship was supposed to be in the middle of a city, and what happened, a year before this came out in 2002, made it so that they had to change the entire ending to put it in more of like a foresty or jungle-y setting. So. I hated the villain thing. I loved Jumba, and I thought they did Jumba dirty, not just by making him Zach Galifianakis, because I thought he was terrible in this. He was just like, hi, I'm Zach Galifianakis. And as I said on one of the other shows, that's not something anyone has wanted since Hangover 1. But it was a matter of like, I understood why they did it, because this was a movie that had $100 million budget that was made for Disney Plus. And then they decided to put it in theaters. So I'm like, okay, in a Disney Plus movie, I understand that CGIing a 20-foot tall shark alien might be out of your budget. That's why Pleakley and Jumba spend the majority of the movie in human bodies.
Well, and I would also say, I think it would be a mistake to do a direct remake of the animated movie, because you do want to see something different.
Yeah.
But I felt that what they did different undermined the entire theme of Lilo and Stitch. And that's why sticking that credit scene on there is almost a slap in the face, because obviously they realized this doesn't work. It probably made test audiences angry. And like I said, I didn't feel really strongly about it until I saw how my son reacted. And he's not one that is usually critical of movies. He looks for the good stuff in it, but they screwed with his favorite movie. And he hasn't stopped talking about it since. And that told me, you guys really did make a mistake here.
Lauren, I have to ask, are you proud?
Well, I do worry that he's picking up some of my habits. It's like, you should sit back and enjoy the things. You don't have to be hypercritical. But at the same time, it's like, I know what they did to Star Wars. I know what that makes me feel like, and now he's getting a taste of it. So, that's personally disappointing. It's not fun to watch somebody have something that they love. I won't say ruined, but marred. It's not fun. You want to see people enjoy the things they love, and so it kind of hurts when that kind of thing happens.
In walking out of the movie, again, this is kind of on the same thing about they made Nani's character make sense to college-educated, career-driven people who made this movie. If you grow up in an island paradise, maybe you don't really care about making enough money to try to move to an island paradise when you retire. Yeah. There's a different pace. There's a different way of thinking about those things.
That makes sense. That does make sense. Yeah, I mean, look, I thought that the heart of the movie for me is always Lilo and Stitch. And so I liked both Lilo and Stitch in this movie. I thought the girl who played Lilo was excellent. I did not, however, get to see Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Has anyone seen that? Because I have heard that it is entirely too long.
I haven't seen it yet.
Now, I heard that it is a 3-hour-long movie. Or just
3 hours. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And it has a $400 million budget, supposedly, which means that even though it has done very well in its opening weekend, the road to profitability is steep, which I don't know if you make it to that.
That's
Here's a
paramount.
question.
Yeah.
About the budget. So 400 million, is that for both parts or is it only this part? Because if it's only this part, that's concerning.
That's all I had heard was that it was a $400 million budget. So it was because I think it's just this movie because it was the it was made during the beer bug. So everything got delayed, and with delays come extra costs.
Wow.
Extra safety provisions. I can't even imagine what insurance costs on a movie like that because Tom Cruise. So
remember they tried to vilify him for his freak out? So I'm like,
oh yeah.
What freak out?
Well, Tom Cruise was yelling at some people for not masking up when they weren't on camera, but that was an insurance thing.
Yeah.
Like it had nothing with policy. It was like, hey, if you guys blow this, people can't work. Say, I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for the guys who don't have billion-dollar contracts. And actually, what I had learned about Tom Cruise when I had to do the first part, I did security for the first part, and he was there. And my dad and I were talking to his personal security guy, who's been his head of security for I think 22 years. Tom Cruise actually takes his studio salary, so he takes what he needs to live, and then he uses the rest of his salary to pay his people. So if you work for Tom Cruise, you don't get laid off between movies. You work for Tom Cruise 52 weeks a year. So he takes the ability to be able to make movies very seriously. He wants to see the crew, get paid.
He is. I the more I hear about him, the more I like him, which is funny because I used to always think of him as like, Tom Cruise, weirdo or whatever. Like, Gary from Nerdrotic always calls him the last real movie star, and I think he has a point. He is the last movie star. It's the last guy where you're like, let's go see that new Tom Cruise movie.
Awesome.
I'd have to have a hard disagreement on that because Keanu Reeves still exists.
I don't know. I love Keanu. I think he's one of the smartest actors out there. But until John Wick, tell me a movie that you were like, oh, Keanu's in it.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay. All right. I'll give you that.
But which, by the way, I have now been through 3 John Wick movies.
Good man.
In my I had never seen John Wick before.
Stop there. Just stop there. You're good.
Oh, really?
No.
Is the 4th one not good?
No, the 4th is better than the 3rd one. The 3rd one's too long.
Well, the 3rd one, by the time the 3rd one ended, I was like, wait a minute. Nothing happened. Like stuff happened, but like at the end of the 3rd one, I'm like, we're right back to where we started. Like literally, we're back at the beginning.
But now
I didn't really care for the 4th one.
Really?
The fight scenes were excellent. The falling down the 1,000 stairs was
that was hilarious. Though.
Yeah. But Marvin, now do you see why I say somebody needs to open up a Continental Hotel in real life?
Yes.
Grown men will pay so much money to LARP as John Wick.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, but you can't actually do anything. You can't do anything in the Continental Hotel though. So what would you'd be like John LARPing as John Wick, like taking a shower,
hanging out in the
drinking
bar.
a drink.
Yeah, you're hanging out in the bar, dressed in this, talking to other distinguished gentlemen, and then
paying with gold coins for everything.
Getting a tailored suit, and even though the rule is you can't do anything in the Continental, they do a lot in the Continental.
Yeah. So because I was enjoying it so much before I started 3, I was like, "Oh, there's a Continental miniseries about about Winston. I want to watch that." I started watching it. I got 1 episode in, and I was like, "Oh, I don't need to watch this."
People told you on X not to do it before you started.
Yeah,
I haven't seen the Continental yet, and I wanted to see it. Why didn't you like it?
It's nothing of what you want it to be. It is. I guess it's supposed to be an origin story of how Winston takes over the Continental. Mel Gibson does a good job in it, from what I've seen so far in the 1 episode. But it was just boring It had a lot of potential, but the first episode, it didn't grab me at all. There were girl bosses galore. There were at least 4 girl bosses in the first episode. There were moments that I thought was kind of cool, where like a rookie detective, who of course is a stunning and brave female, tries to walk into the Continental after like an arms dealer, and the other like police basically grab her and throw her in the car. They're like, do not walk in there. We don't go in there. Like, that's not a thing that you do, and they won't tell her why. It just, I don't know. It was just a lot. I've never heard anyone that's like, oh, it's terrible, but everyone is just kind of like, it's just kind of nothing.
What about the 70s vibe? I mean, I was kind of interested in it because of the era, and it looked like it might have good music. I mean, how did they pull it off?
Not really great. I mean, I couldn't even tell it was the 70s, to be perfectly honest, other than the fact that I did the math, because the first scene takes place in the 50s and then it flashes forward. So I kind of did the math on that one. But, it's like when, I don't know. I don't think I ever need the story of how Winston took over the Continental. I think I just kind of like that Winston is in charge of the Continental.
As if he was always there.
Yes. Yes. At first, I thought it was going to be a thing about the founding of the Continental, and then they basically said the Continental goes back to the Roman Empire. So, I realized then that that wasn't it. The one thing I really liked was Gibson as the head of the Continental. He's talking to his henchmen, and basically he's just he tells the one, he's like, hey, put a bullet in his head for failing. And he's like, I can't do that, sir. We're on company grounds. And he's like, oh, that's right. You can't. And as much as I want to do it, I can't either. But what I can do is send people to off your entire family. So you can either jump out that window right now and take care of this yourself, or I will take care of your people that are out there, which I thought was an interesting way to kind of get around the Continental stuff. But yeah, I mean, I didn't need to see, oh gosh, what's his face? The concierge. I didn't need to see him as a teenager. I don't know. It just felt very unnecessary.
And I will say
a little bit worried now for Ballerina, because I've been really excited for that movie. So I really
I'm
the trends of the movie.
I'm excited about that movie. It comes out next week.
Until June.
Comes out next week. What were you saying, Lauren?
I will say, don't take my criticism of 4 too hard. I just, for some reason, 4 kind of felt like a letdown to me.
Okay.
It's got some great scenes in it. I'm sure you'll like it. It just, I really liked the first and the third one. And for some reason, 4 just didn't work for me.
I don't know. All I want is the gun fu. And I really like the world building of it. When I first started watching the first one, I had no idea there was this rich world building involved. Of establishing this underworld. I was like, wow, this is really, really interesting. I want to know everything there is to know about this. But speaking of Ballerina, I'm going to actually shift gears for a second, because we do have a story about Ballerina, and this was not done as a segue. But the review embargo, as set down by Lionsgate, only blocks critical comments. So they want good vibes only. Did you hear about this, Kev?
They've done that before, but yeah, I saw this the other day and got a chuckle.
So they said, we encourage spoiler-free enthusiasm across social starting May 22nd at 1 p.m. Pacific. If you are planning to review the film or make critical social sentiments and formal reviews, are embargoed until Wednesday, June 4th. So you're not allowed to say anything critical of the movie until June 4th. But if you want to praise it on social media, you're free to do that.
Is it bad that, I mean, I'm all about, I want authentic opinions, such, but if you're letting your audience see it early, I mean, you never really get the most authentic feedback to begin with, when you have to deal with all these embargoes and such. I can kind of understand why the company's doing this. I don't necessarily agree that it's the right thing, morally, but I understand in an age where we're getting our Zegler bombs, if that makes sense.
Right.
I don't mean to derail the conversation, but I lost it in the chat. Why are we talking about Kathy Ireland?
Well, wait, I don't know. I looked over and I saw something about Kathy Ireland also.
Why should we not be talking about Kathy Ireland? What's wrong with you?
I just want to know how we got here.
Somebody mentioned her, and we all jumped in and agreed that we liked her.
Unnecessary Roughness is a fantastic movie.
Sinbad, Scott Bakula, Kathy Ireland. How can you go wrong?
How can you go wrong? Judo thrust to the neck. 10 yards.
All right. One more story, and then we'll get to super chats real quick because it's a quick one. We were talking about Tom Cruise, so I moved this one ahead in the queue here. In that this potential Tom Cruise Les Grossman movie might signal a potential shift away from politically charged filmmaking and more of a shift toward Tom Cruise. Now, I don't know if you guys heard, he's in very serious talks with Christopher McQuarrie about a Les Grossman movie, which would be a spinoff of Tropic Thunder. So apparently they riffed on scenes with Cruise as the character while filming Mission Impossible 8, and they're debating whether he should be a lead or a supporting character. Now, look, I love Tropic Thunder. I love Les Grossman as a character. I don't want to see a Les Grossman movie. I think that the joke would get old real fast. I think he's better off as a supporting character.
I agree with you, but I think the way you make this work is that you show him at the very beginning as the head of this production company, but you follow, what is his name? Bill Hader, was that his name? Any one of his assistants, and you make them the protagonist, and having to deal with all of the crazy demands that Les Grossman is making of you. And you do the same thing with you did with him in Tropic Thunder. You just have him making these crazy demands, screaming into the phone, showing up to actually fix all of the BS at the very end of the thing, and give him a dance number. That's all you need.
I feel like with Modern, the dance number that they give him will be way too long and not nearly as good as the dance from the first one.
If he does the splits, I don't care.
Also, too, though, Tom Cruise, yes, no one can avoid the occasional stinker, but Tom Cruise is generally very deliberate in what he wants to do. I think he is really super into comedy, so he's not going to do it if he doesn't think they can get it right. And I was thinking, like, this movie probably can work if you open it up and if they're going to make fun of everything that Hollywood has been doing the last batch of years, and you open the movie up with Les Grossman being canceled, and now he has to fight his way back. He's still the center of attention, but he's not the main character. And I would even bring back McConaughey as the everyman person, and you're just watching this lunatic just like be his own worst enemy, but while also still kind of being the hero of the movie.
You know what? I want to riff on that, because I think the way you do it is you do exactly what they're doing with Harvey Weinstein now, because that's who they base this on. Start it with him in prison, and now having a retrial where they're going to go back and redo the things, and he's got to claw his way back up to the top of his corporation that Matthew McConaughey has taken over.
That's interesting.
I
can't see Hollywood ever being like, let's make light of Harvey Weinstein. I can't see them being able to do that.
This is why I have a glimmer of hope about this, though, is that what we've all been saying for a while is that you could never get Tropic Thunder made today. If somebody actually takes that chance and puts their toe over the line, that's going to be the first chink in the dam. It's going to be the thing that leads to the dike breaking. That's what we want. Go for it. Be as offensive as you want to be. We're going to be here for it.
Yeah, but Blazing Saddles didn't herald in a new era of offensive comedy, and then Tropic Thunder didn't do this as well. Every once in a while, you get these brilliant glimmers of subversive comedy, but they don't. There's no follow-on effect.
But I mean, that's kind of the point, though. Can you think of another comedy that's been any good since Tropic Thunder? That was 2008. We're going on.
It's been a while, yeah.
And I do think the big difference is that comedy has been willfully suppressed. We've seen them take a couple stabs at it, and it hasn't worked. What was that weird Seth Rogen one? The Boys, not that Boys. The the preteens and their raunchy little adventure.
Oh, super bad.
Yeah. All Are you being cheeky?
No, the movie was called Superbad, wasn't it?
I was the other one that came out later.
Oh,
the
I'm just talking about Superbad.
Yeah, but so really, the post Tropic Thunder era was kind of over, and you saw the current climate that we're in pretty much made it impossible to get comedy because no one wants to take the risk. And it would be because again, if you're going to do this, you have to go all out. You can't shortchange it.
Yeah. The guy who made the Hangover movies left comedy because he couldn't get anything funny done.
Yeah.
Well, but you know what? Like I saw that
after he made the first one, he couldn't get anything funny happen.
That's very true. But we the thing that gave me hope about this is not even that I think a Les Grossman movie would be great. It's just that we went from they tried to cancel Tropic Thunder, and then Ben Stiller and everyone involved in it was just like, no, you will not cancel this movie. This movie is funny. Shut up. And now they're actively talking about making a spin-off of it, which I think just flies in the face of that progressive Hollywood, system that tried to destroy it.
Yeah, and I said the world is healing, but I think the potential of this reigniting the R-rated comedy, it's long overdue. And I'm all for it. And like I said the other day, people voiced similar complaints about Frasier Crane, and we're talking about a potential fourth show featuring Frasier Crane if they can get it worked out with Ted Danson.
Wait, they're going to make another Frasier Crane show? They're making a new Cheers?
No, it's going to be Frasier and Sam. Because this Frasier only stopped because it was too expensive. And then Kelsey Grammer said that in lieu of them ending the show sooner than he wanted to, that they were going to allow him to shop a show where Frasier and Sam reunite so they can close out Sam's storyline. Because I guess they had some major idea for Sam that they wanted to get to in Frasier, and Ted Danson just wasn't available fast for them to even touch it.
Oh, that would be great. I mean, as loath as I am to even touch the Cheers universe with no Norm, that sounds like it would just be an amazing buddy show. Frasier and Sam, because I always liked their dynamic, especially because Frasier was introduced on Cheers as a foil for Sam, and then their friendship ended up becoming such a awesome part of the show as it went on.
Yeah.
Even after Kirstie Alley ate Shelley Long. But I mean, that would be an amazing time to bring Diane back. I mean, I'm sure that would happen in at least one episode. I tried to watch that new Frasier, and I realized that, as much as I love Kelsey Grammer, and Martin and I were just talking about how much we love Kelsey Grammer and we love Frasier before we went on the air, I don't think you could do it in a great way without Niles and without Daphne, and obviously without Martin's dead, but without Martin. That show was just so perfect. It was like trying to capture lightning in a bottle doing it again. But if you add the element of Sam Malone into the show, all of a sudden I'm back. I don't need Niles.
Yeah, it's different enough because not Niles not being in the new show, not even to set up the story. It is painful. It's painfully obvious that there's something missing. And even though they try to juxtapose the Martin and Frasier relationship with Freddie Frasier and Freddie, it just wasn't the same without Niles. So, but at least
Kevin, so it was basically Scooby-Doo when they were just doing Scooby and Shaggy. It's like you need the whole gang or else you're missing a big part of the show.
Yes, yes, and honestly, adding Niles and Daphne's son, that essentially made him scrappy.
Yeah, they kept trying real hard with him, and I'm just like, this isn't working, guys.
I do respect that David Hyde Pierce. They kept rewriting that to get him in it. He's like, guys, there's just nothing for Niles to do here.
Well, Niles had his happily ever after with the girl of his dreams and rode off into the sunset. There's nothing more you could say for Niles Crane. Clearly he had a kid, and Niles was always amazing to me when Frasier started because I'm like, oh, Niles is what Frasier was when he first showed up at Cheers. It's like he's the Frasier that didn't go through all the character development on Cheers. And that was what made it so interesting to me in the first few seasons, because it was like Frasier dealing with a version of himself from when we first met him. And, you know, Frasier is obviously still stuck up and foppish, but like not to the extent that Niles was. I love it. And then Niles became his own character and had the greatest moment in the history of the show in the episode where he's trying to pretend that he's Jewish. And Niles walks out of the bathroom literally dressed as Jesus, and Frasier yells, "Jesus!" The greatest moment in the history of the show.
I mean, I don't like blasphemy, and even I laughed at that.
Mm-hmm. It was, especially because he was just like, "Oh, I have to get into my costume for the Christmas pageant." You don't know what he's changing into, and when he walks out of that bathroom, it is one of the funniest moments in TV history.
Where they keep lying to Daphne's old boyfriend, and it just keeps getting worse and worse.
I was just talking about that before the show.
We were literally just talking about it, where he was just like, "You would know, Maris, you being barren and all." Oh my gosh! All right, some super chats.
This man, he's a hero.
Oh, Andre Adams for 499 says, anyone named Marcus Furious has front row seats to beheadings.
You know, anybody who didn't catch the beginning of the show is really confused by that.
Yeah. And they're gonna be confused by this one too. Johnny Cage for $5 says, Marvin the Movie Monster was almost Anthony the Audio Anteater. Yeah, that would have been weird. That Black Bear for $5 says, that's my cousin. Do all bears look alike to you, racist Muppet? Not the first time I've been called that. Dragon Queen for $5 says, no one was X'd out and people continued forward grabbing things. That was Black Friday. Oh, nobody was knocked out and people continued forward grabbing things. Yeah. No, Black Friday was a fight for your life.
What happened from like what? 2002 to what, maybe 2014, the world collectively lost its mind as we tried to replace Thanksgiving with being a bunch of savages in retail stores at midnight.
It was wine and Christmas.
Yeah, it was. South Park did the best when they did the Game of Thrones spoof of it, where like they announced like 70% off for Black Friday, and Randy and the other security guards were like, "You've killed us! You've killed us!" All right, Liquid Fox for $2 Canadian says Nolan ran like he was holding a poop. I don't think he ran like that.
No, he was. I'll give him this. He was doing the heel toe thing like a shooter. So
yeah,
good on you, Nolan.
Yeah.
Or it could be like he was not holding a poop.
Yeah, like he'd already lost that battle. William Thompson for $5 says, I just want to say to Lauren Connor, my hat brother, he has a nice hat collection. Wow, you guys are really being like kind to each other now.
It's weird.
For all of the back and forth, we love each other. We're good buddies.
Yeah. Forever Runner for $4.99 says, Kev, I found an ally in your war against the Bears. There's a YouTube video of one running for its life, trying to escape one pissed off mama moose.
Oh, you messed up.
Yeah, well, no, but then you got to deal with the moose. Well, I asked a friend of mine who's Canadian one time. I was like, "Oh, have you ever seen a moose?" And they're like, "Look, if you're that close to a moose, it's already over." like they are not to be messed with. Like, you don't understand how big a moose is until you actually see one in person, I've been told. My favorite though is whenever somebody in my house is moose, either me or my wife will go bah, bah, because anytime the word moose was mentioned on Rugrats, that's the sound effect that happened. William Thompson for $10 says, the sad part is that after hearing how bad it was, talking about Lilo and Stitch, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. Is the criticism true and right? And should I still see it because I love the animated movie Lilo and Stitch? I would say maybe wait for Disney Plus and watch it. But I still liked the movie. I still very much liked the movie. I argued for the movie. I gave it an 8 or an 8.5 out of 10, I think, because I gave it a half a point off for no what do you call it? Gantu. and I gave it a point off for Zach Galifianakis. Gantu only got a half a point off because I understood why he wasn't in it. And John Williams 199 says, no, Disney flat out told them no drag. While that might be true, I'm pretty sure the reason why they're in human form and he's not a woman is because, well, there's a few reasons. Well, one, it's probably, yes, no drag. But two, Pleakley he's talking about. Two, it's, I think, the budgetary reasons. They're very expensive characters to animate, and clearly they didn't have the budget to animate them when they did because they looked terrible. And three, the gag of them wearing human clothes while being aliens and like nobody saying anything does not work in live action.
Though anybody who says no drag clearly wasn't paying attention to what he was wearing throughout that movie.
Yeah,
he got his hands on a woman's luggage.
I say you didn't take the opportunity to play the "My Money" clip.
Oh, yes. Well, as now I got to find that clip. I played that one a while. Oh, yeah. No, as we all know, guys, had they put him in drag.
My money.
I know why they didn't do it.
Yeah.
They would lost too much money.
Oh, yes. Yeah, if they had to. Yeah. John Williams for 499 says, favorite cruise fact is Bale-based performance of Patrick Bateman of Tom because in the book, Bateman meets Tom, who is freaked out by Bateman. That's interesting. I did not know that. Tom Cruise. All right, you guys ready for our title story of the day? It is this. Now, look, I'm going to preface this, guys. There's a lot of talk about the girl playing Hermione and whether or not she's a race swap. I don't know. There's no information. I am not going to sit here and pontificate on the race of a 10-year-old. It just feels gross to me. I don't want to do it. We're not going to talk about that. We'll just talk about the casting and move on. Whether she is or she isn't, I mean, she looks enough like a young Emma Watson to me. I don't care. I know Gary from Nerdrotic, he said this seems like fine casting too. I don't want to make a federal case over it. It's a 10-year-old. It just, I don't know. But the Wizarding...
Gingers are black now, so who cares?
What?
Gingers are black now, so who cares?
Not this ginger. Though I will say, these two incredibly pale boys, it's definitely going to be something where every time something goes wrong in the school and there's a crime committed, these two very, very white boys are going to go, it's the only black guy. That is going to be something else. But so these are your three new actors, right? Dominic McLaughlin has been cast as Harry Potter, joined by Arabella Stanton as Hermione Granger and Alistair Stout as Ron Weasley. The casting marks a major milestone for the series, which held an open call auditioning over 30,000 hopefuls from around the world. So they said, after an extraordinary search led by casting directors Lucy Bevan and Emily Brockman, we are delighted to announce we have found our Hermione, Harry, and Ron. The talent of these three unique actors is wonderful to behold, and we cannot wait for the world to witness their magic together on screen. Now, J.K. Rowling sounded off on this. She was on X, and she responded to somebody praising it. She says, all three are wonderful. I couldn't be happier. But, of course, she has not sounded off on the big controversy, which was the race swap of Severus Snape.
Because she doesn't care.
Yeah, because she doesn't care. That's at the end of the day. She cared when he pushed back about the gender stuff. But guys, here's the thing that I want to make a point here. Would people try to say that? Oh gosh, when people try to, I'm trying to figure out how to put this. When people try to say that she's like based because of her views on gender, her views on gender are simply another element to the fact that she hates men. Am I wrong?
I don't know that I've ever had the take that she hates men. She is definitely not what I would call based. She just has one particularly based view.
Yes.
I think I don't really care about the casting here, but again, I liked the first three Harry Potter books. After that, I felt like they kind of fell off. So I'm not really the target audience for this.
Mm-hmm.
I do think, to me, this just screams cash grab. This feels to me way too soon to be redoing Harry Potter. I don't think you're ever going to This is like when you try and remake Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You know, it's been done a few different times, but you're never going to get past that original. And if you're going to try, I think you got to wait at least 20 years after the final movie of the first run. And this is way too soon. I think this is a mistake.
So here's the thing. Harry Potter is such a huge IP that I think Warner Brothers always feels that they need to be making something with it. Now they tried to move forward in the wizarding world and found out that the wizarding world is not what sells. Harry Potter is what sells, because they did those Wizarding World Fantastic Beasts movies, and by the third movie, nobody cared anymore. And the Secrets of Dumbledore, go ahead, Kev.
I think it would have done better if they didn't screw Johnny Depp.
Yes.
Johnny Depp was the one who was carrying those movies.
There were a few things. You had the Johnny Depp situation, which both from a social and from a quality perspective hurt the movie, and they got rid of Johnny Depp but kept Ezra Miller.
Yes, Ezra Miller I thought was the weakest. He had the most important storyline, but was the weakest actor and the weakest character anchoring the most important storyline of the movie. I think they should have just sucked up and finished it. I think they just misread the room and they got smacked for it.
Well,
I think,
or you tell adult Harry stories and focus on the kids.
I think there is a refutation though of that. The only thing that sells is Harry, because you've got the computer game that came out last year that's like in the 1800s, I think. So you can transpose the era and not have it involve the Potters. But I think that the real thing is that they moved the location. It's like Harry Potter is distinctly British. And while you can have people show up in the books from all different areas, from France or from Slavic countries, and they all come to Hogwarts, when you move it to somewhere else, I think that throws people off. It doesn't feel like the same thing.
I agree. You know whose take I want to get on this? A hangry table.
Ooh. Angry.
I hate men too. Sorry. I couldn't help but overhear the conversation, and I'm presuming we're talking about Star Trek right now, correct? No, I'm kidding. No, in fact, I do agree. I do feel that Warner Brothers is going down the same path that Lucasfilm has blazed a trail all the way, off a cliff with Star Wars, basically. It seems to me the case that just like Warner Brothers, Disney is felt that they couldn't just sit on the franchise. They had to make money off it. They had to, milk it for all that it was worth in order to justify the $4 billion price tag. And they just put out all of this stuff, which just did not work with like the occasional high spot here and there. But so that is my main concern with the path that Warner Brothers is taking. I mean, it's a path of greed, right? Like they know that they have to make as much money as they possibly can. They, as you've rightly pointed out, the wizarding world just wasn't Harry Potter-ish enough. And so they're going back to what works. They're going back to Hogwarts. They're going back to Harry, Hermione, and Ron. And now they're going to try to, again, pardon my use of the word milking, but they're going to be milking it out on the TV long form. And I don't know. I give it 50-50 on whether or not they will succeed or whether they will basically, become the Acolyte Part 2.
I simply don't see how a long form TV show on the streaming service generates the kind of income that, what are we saying, an $8 billion TV show over the course of a year?
That's the next part of the story, Martin, is
sorry to jump.
According to the Daily Mail, this show will have a cost between $2 and $8 billion. Now, this is more about the Daily Mail than anything else, but there are budget discrepancies here. So the Daily Mail reported an astronomical budget. According to them, each episode of the series was expected to cost a staggering 75 million pounds sterling, which is more than 100 million in USD. However, this figure contradicts earlier reporting by the outlet. So this was the tweet that kind of started it all. But then when I just saw this, I was gonna ignore it. But then when I saw the Daily Mail report it, they said with every single episode of the much anticipated production expected to cost a staggering £75 million. That was when I was like, oh, hold on a minute. And then we looked into it a little bit more. And back in February of 2004, they reported that every season of the show, and that said there would be 10 seasons, would cost $200 million, which would be $2 billion for the entire run of the series. If this number, however, is true, and it's 75 million pounds, $100 million an episode, then if that goes 10 seasons, you presume 8 episodes in a season is, typical for HBO, that's $8 billion. And even if it's just 7 seasons, one for each book, that's $5.4 billion. That is entirely too much money for this show. And the reason for the thumbnail is, here's the thing about this show that makes me worry a bit about it. In that the progressives will not watch this show because of J.K. Rowling. They have made that clear. I mean, a lot of them still will, but most of the ones, they're going to scream and holler. So they pissed off that side. Now with the Papa Acedu and the race swap, they've pissed off the right.
Yeah, right doesn't care.
No, people care. I mean, Trisha's like, I'm not watching this show.
Yeah, but that's not enough to. It's just it's enough to be like, this was stupid. That's what the general consensus is. This was stupid.
Well, I think it's enough. It's enough to make them be like, "That's dumb. I'm not going to watch this."
Yeah, Mrs. Stone is on the fence about watching it now. But an interesting side thing that just happened today: one of her super liberal friends was posting on Facebook about how she's going to be getting rid of all of her Harry Potter stuff.
Oh gosh,
because of J.K. Rowling's political positions. And my wife is like, do I chime in and say I'll take it? I'm like, yeah, absolutely you do.
Especially if she's giving it away.
Yeah.
I was gonna say they have a bigger problem with minorities versus either political side, because it's minorities that are like, no one wants this. We know what the guy looks like. And you go to there's thousands upon thousands of TikToks where it's someone melanated reading Snape's description going, why are you doing this? No one asked for this.
Well, go ahead, Lauren.
I want to play devil's advocate a little bit here, because I don't really have a horse in this race. I'm not a Harry Potter fan. I don't know anything about Papa Acedu. But for the sake of argument, let's say that he turned in a stellar performance. Does that change the dynamic?
Possibly.
I know there's concern about some of the lines in the book now when you have Death Eaters that are modeled after certain movements from the early part of the 20th century.
Yes.
And that could be concerning. But if they wrote around that, if they adjusted that, and he turns in a stellar performance, do you think they could win over the audience?
It's possible. I think there's a percentage of the audience that's just so exhausted by all the race swaps. Now, but one of the things that I hear from a lot of people, especially people like on our side of like whatever you call the culture war or whatever, is they're saying that like, you tell me that you're going to cast Denzel in something, I don't care what character it is. He's Denzel. He's going to be amazing in it. So I think, Lauren, there might be something to say about that. Is if he turns into stellar performance. Go ahead, Kev.
We used to not care about this. It wasn't. It just used to be about the strength of the actor, which is why the Denzel line always comes up a lot, because when you go to actors, you're people better than Denzel, very few and far between. But again, I always go back to Michael Clark Duncan. No one said a word about Michael Clark Duncan being cast as the Kingpin. Yeah. No one said a word about James Earl Jones being cast as Thulsa Doom. It just, we hit a point. Listen, we even had the an all essentially, and it wasn't necessarily a remake. It was just an all black cast for Cinderella that Disney put out with Whitney Houston and Brandy. No one cared about it. It was just a Cinderella movie on ABC that had Whitney Houston and Brandy in it. We used to not care. And then somewhere around 2009, this stuff started being done to encourage outrage marketing. And as we crept later into the woke era, it turned into, well, no, we're doing this because we want you to complain, because when this movie fails, it's your fault because you're a bigot. The that if we can get back to let the better actor do it, I'm all for it, unless it does something like you make Denzel Magneto and you strip away what makes the Magneto character work.
Right.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to ask this question is I see in the chat some people are saying it can never be a better performance, only a different one. I agree. I think this is kind of why when you talk about something like Shakespeare, you can have a totally different performance that's equally compelling because it's an interpretation. The question that I have is that I don't know anything about Papa Asidu. I haven't seen him in anything. I have no idea what kind of chops he has. If he has chops, though, which maybe he doesn't, but if he does, could that get the audience to give him a shot? Now, I think when I think of Snape, the reason that I have a problem with this casting is that he's often described as sallow, and it's very difficult to try and get that image out of your head.
Well, and she goes out of her way to say things like sallow, pale, waxen. Like she goes above and beyond to talk
Doesn't she
about
say
how
his skin
white
is the color of curdled milk or something
Yes,
like that?
something like that. Yeah. Well, and then there's that line with James Potter where Lily's like, "What has he ever done to you?" And he goes, "It's nothing that he's done. It's more so that he exists per se." Or like when they'll say something about like, "Oh, Snape, you look at Snape, but he's all about the dark arts." Like
this is the
so much.
This is the problem with these activist type writers when they're writing these things is they're trying to present how they feel the world should be, not what it currently is, what it should. So in their eyes, it's like, okay, if I'm going to make what the world will eventually learn and become, this is something they need to get used to, as in the viewer. What they do not understand is the reality is, unfortunately, we do not currently live in a world where there is no discrimination. And you can lead a camel to water, but you can't make it drink. Meaning, you can force this into the audience as much as you want. But the reality is, we are currently in some times where there is, unfortunately, a lot of battling, discussion, and discrimination going on. And the reality is, viewers' minds are going to think when they see those comments in these movies, they're going to think about something in a completely different context from mudbloods versus wizards. And it's an unfortunate reality, but it is reality. And they can't change that no matter how much they try. Hopefully one day, this stuff won't be an issue. But they can't just write it into existence.
Snape was one of the characters that you could not do this with. Snape was one of the ones that was just like, no. There are a few, the three kids, Snape and Dumbledore, are the characters you could not change because their visage is iconic, and especially Snape. Like if you had cast a brilliant black actress as McGonagall, I don't think anyone would have cared. I mean, some people would have cared. People would have cared. But like if Black McGonagall turned in an amazing performance, I would have been like, wow, that's brilliant casting. Great job, guys.
Pause. You just wanted to say Black McGonagall.
All
right. Let's think back though. When Battlestar Reimagined came out, race and gender swaps all over the place,
everywhere.
But that show created entirely new characters that simply had the same names.
Yeah, and I think
some of those characters matched archetypes, but they went on entirely different character journeys.
Yeah, go ahead, Hangry.
Well, I was just going to say that it's exactly as I think, Lauren, you might have mentioned the fact that, and one of the audience members also said he will not be Alan Rickman. There's a path forward for him in this TV series, and that path is to basically create essentially a brand new Snape. I feel like I'm echoing for some reason.
You are echoing, but
I am. Oh, great. Sorry about that.
It gives you gravitas.
Thank you.
You're an epic table tonight.
I thank you. But so he's basically got to create a brand new character, one that is not reminiscent of Alan Rickman's performance in any way, shape, or form. Now that's possible. It's a very, very narrow path that he has to take to success, and the odds of failure are quite high, but it is doable. And I think if he is able to pull it off, the audience will accept it. Now, the challenge, though, is the fact that Warner's, as you just rightly pointed out, they're spending billions on this. Why would you take that risk?
Why would any streaming service do this? None of these guys make money. Netflix and YouTube are the only profitable ones. Everybody else just sets money on fire.
I hope we were going to talk about this because the single studio streaming service makes no sense as a business model.
No, I don't. I get it. I get it. They're just holding on to it out of spite at this point. But it's all of these streaming services have been abysmal failures. They're all of the worst parts of the money pit. So it's like why are you? Warner Brothers, a company that doesn't have 4 cents to rub together, is going out here to drop $5 to $10 billion on something that, like Lauren said, they probably are rebooting a little too fast. And if they took about 8 minutes to think about how they should have continued forward with the franchise, they probably could have figured it out. And then to go back to the Snape thing, the other part that I think really more irritates the people who really like the book is that they kind of forget that this woman has no principles anyway, and is the queen of the oh yeah, that was always what it was supposed to be. The fans provided more backstory for her to retcon via social media posts, and moments in history that provide some of happenstance that she has just, she'll say whatever she wants if she thinks it's convenient. So Dumbledore, the original actor, gets outed posthumously. Now Dumbledore is all of a sudden gay. I always envisioned Hermione as a young black woman. No, you didn't. Because if you did, she would have been a young black girl. Why are you lying to me? It's just, there isn't a page in that book that hasn't been rewritten on a whim because she wanted to she wanted to just feel a part of the party. So of course she was going to do something like this. I'm really legitimately confused that people are shocked that this happened.
This is actually one of the reasons that I liked the first 3 Harry Potter books, and then I felt they fell off after that, is because the first 3 to me felt like they were just self-contained adventures, but they got so popular that she decided to make it an epic, and I felt like she actually changed the genre of book that she was writing. And continuing on my devil's advocate spree, I'm probably going to get roasted alive here, and this is kind of why I'm asking about the Snape thing specifically. I'm not a James Bond fan, really. There's a few James Bond movies that I like, but I'm not what you would call a fan. But I would be open to seeing, say, Idris Elba play Bond.
Oh, I would too.
I think that's casting that could work, and I think that he could slay in that role. So that's my question. Do you think there's a possibility? I mean, I don't know that he's got those kind of chops, but if he does, let's just say for the sake of argument that Papa Asidu is going to blow people away in some way. Is there a way that you could accept another Snape, a different interpretation of Snape, if he owns the role in a different way?
Yeah, look, if he turns in a brilliant performance and he brings something new to Snape that we've never seen before, because Snape is such an iconic character and a lot of that is wrapped up in Alan Rickman. If he brings something new to it and it's something new that people like, then yeah, I mean, I'd be fine being like, hey, you know what? I was wrong. This was the right call. But it's just, the way I think we all see it now, and we didn't used to see it this way, like we're talking about with Battlestar Galactica or with James Earl Jones or with any of these other or Michael Clark Duncan, because back then it wasn't being done for the purpose of, and Hammer Biotech pointed it out in the chat, and I want to pull that up, is, you know, the prime reason that progressives recast such roles is their inherent belief that by doing so they uplift the less fortunate. Like, that's why they're doing it. It's a bunch of rich white people in a boardroom that are doing this to pat themselves on the back and sniff their own farts.
How many times have I said it? Minorities do not want to shop at the superhero IP thrift shop.
Yeah.
It's like stop
hasn't
your cast-offs at us.
Hasn't Idris Elba kind of said that since he played Heimdall? I know that, but he also seems to have regretted playing Heimdall. But so many black actors I've heard say things like, "No, just give me a new character that I can sink my teeth into."
Well, Morgan Freeman spoke out against Black History Month. He was like, "Why is it just a month? Like, why do we have to say?" He's like, "Why isn't it just history? Why is it Black history?" Like, you hear a lot of
American history.
Yeah, exactly. That was the quote. You hear like guys like Morgan Freeman, guys like Denzel, guys like Idris Elba, guys with a body of work that speaks for itself, that don't need the female dwarf lady from Rings of Power who's like, "Oh, I'm the first black female dwarf and now my daughter can see herself and that's the only thing that matters." Like, it's the polar opposite of people like that who have a body of work and are confident in their abilities and know that they can uplift themselves on their own.
Well, I would say that some of that is part of the cultural schism you see playing out today anyway. The minority men and minority females are by and large in very different places when you look at the world. So some are like, "Nah, we're here, we're cool with a lot of stuff, we don't complain about this," and the other ones are, "I am here to die on the altar of identity politics." It's just, that's why we are where we are.
We saw it with remember Bobby Lashley at that one, not to get the wrestling weeds, but Bobby Lashley at that one AEW scrum where they were like, "Bobby, being a black champion," and he was like, "No, I'm a champion, I'm not a black champion." Like that was, I loved that. And meanwhile, you had Swerve Strickland on AEW being like, "Black champion." Like it was, do
you remember
night and day.
Was it Colts Bears Super Bowl? Where
Dungy versus Lovie Smith?
Yeah, Dungy versus Lovie Smith. And the outcome was obviously going to be a black man wins the Super Bowl. And the only two people who made it clear they did not care were Dungy and Lovie. In fact, they both seemed to be really angry with the entire conversation.
Yeah. That is a sentiment that is very more common than the media wants to admit, which is why I kind of get a chuckle out of this non-story, because clearly Papa Aceto did something that impressed some people. I think, again, it might be a little naive, but I think that we are slowly creeping away from the virtue signal casting nonsense. It isn't working. It doesn't work. Every movie where it happens, it's painfully obvious and it bombs. So HBO, who doesn't have the money to make this happen, I think a lot of this is kind of manufactured outrage. So that we it's confusing that she did what she did because of how much detail it went into describing the character. But at the end of the day, Alan Rickman didn't play Snape the way Snape was written in the book anyway. He played Snape the way Alan Rickman wanted to play Snape. So there's plenty of space for a new actor to come and do what they want to do with the character.
And on that note, I would say Papa Asiadu will hopefully take a cue from that and play Snape in a way we've never seen before, and yet one that will work. It's just, we've heard so many times from so many people that, this guy was when he came in, our jaws dropped to the floor. He was the only choice out of the millions of people we auditioned and whatnot. And at this point, you kind of take that with a grain of salt, or a very, very massive grain of salt, because most of the time you have to think, you sort of think afterwards, you're like, what, were they high or something when they were doing these auditions? Yeah. So there's a chance. I'm not saying it's a huge chance, but there's a chance that he succeeds, and I wish him all the best, and I hope he does succeed. It's quite a giant risk, especially for a company that has no money.
Yeah, that I think that's the bigger story. We are seeing foolish, reckless spending on something that was very unnecessary. If you wanted to do something bold, You should have just continued Harry's story and said, "Okay, JK, you got a giant retainer check. Sit down and figure out how to move this story forward." And
you have to think about with this series, what kind of brand damage is this going to do to Harry Potter as a merchandise juggernaut if this show does bomb or gets the Fantastic Beasts treatment, like Warner Brothers runs out of money and they can't do it no more. I mean, Harry Potter, we've seen, they've built theme parks in the image of those original movies. They've gone back on doing Fantastic Beasts stuff to focus on the OG Harry Potter stuff. We've seen that brand is so viable. But it was also a huge brand? Star Wars. The nerds would buy those toys no matter what. They would complain about those prequels, but they bought the toys.
Star what? Was that the one with the Enterprise or something? Like,
hey, no. Nerds. Let's tone down the language a little bit here.
That's our word.
I think I have an opportunity here to merge what the chat is talking about with what we're talking about. Marvin, if you bring up that, picture of Papa
that would be
Isidu,
a nice first.
I know, wouldn't it? That picture of Papa Isidu in Hamlet. I think, I mean, it's kind of in your background image there too, but he looks like he should be playing Baron Samedi, brought back in the in a James Bond movie.
Yeah.
So we make a new James Bond movie with, I don't know, Idris Elba, or I guess. I mean, I'm not a fan of that casting, but whoever. But Baron Samedi, who survives in Live and Let Die, you bring him back again. Papa Isidu plays him.
So, all right. So, but by the way, to put a bow on this, I do want to say I think Lauren was 100% dead on with the Fantastic Beasts failure and the IP in general. Is that it's Hogwarts and like the teens learning to be wizards is even more important than just Harry Potter himself as a character. You moved it to adult wizards, you moved it into the United States, you moved it into Paris, and no one cared. Hogwarts is kind of the setting, and that's what people loved about the video game, was the ability to explore Hogwarts, to run around the open world, to fly a broomstick. I mean, not to play Quidditch, because you couldn't play Quidditch in that game, but there's always the sequel. So yeah, I think that what's that?
I was saying, what's funny is I actually preferred watching Fantastic Beasts because there was a bunch of adults running around being in peril. I just didn't. I would have just rather they had cast Matt Smith instead of having Ed Redmayne do his Doctor Who impression.
That would be great.
But I was like, the fact that this appeals to me means that they're missing the mark, because I am hyper aware that this isn't for me. I actually scream out, I think Harry is an awful character at any chance I get.
Oh yeah, no, that's a whole other conversation for a whole other day. Now I know Lauren and Hangry have to head out, but real quick before Lauren left, I wanted to just I'm pretty sure this is a gag, but it was a funny gag, and I had to point it out to you today, and I made sure I bookmarked it for this stream tonight, from our friends at Geeks and Gamers, who said, Sydney Sweeney is partnering with Dr. Squatch to create Bathwater Bliss, a limited edition soap containing drops of her bathwater. Only 5,000 bars will be available, and each bar comes with a certificate confirming that it was made with Sydney Sweeney's actual bathwater.
Oh, my Lord.
I don't think it's a gag.
I think it's a gag. I think it's got to be a gag. It's got to be a gag. But if you're looking for a present for Lauren Connor for Christmas, I also wanted to wait long enough to make sure that Lauren's mom was probably gone from the audience before I brought this up.
No, I'll bet she's still on. They try and watch every stream I turn up on.
Lauren's parents, you have a Christmas idea.
What's funny about this to me is that I made one comment about Sydney Sweeney on one stream because I thought it was funny. And now everybody just assumes that I am constantly lusting after Sydney Sweeney.
That's how it starts, Lauren. That's how it starts.
It's not, man.
There's a member of your audience who sends me a new Sydney Sweeney picture every day, which, don't get me wrong, that's kind of an awesome service to have, but I didn't sign up for it, So it's just, It is kind of funny, and it's
Sidney
become
Graham.
it's become a gag. But I think the whole reason I made the joke in the first place is that I think we were talking about X. Oh yeah, Mom just texted me and said we're still watching. So hi, Mom.
Hi, Mrs. Connor.
Shout out to Lauren's mom.
The whole reason that I made a comment about Sydney Sweeney one time was because I saw this thing on X and I was talking about community notes, and I thought it was the best community note ever. There was some article that was written that said, let's be honest, Sydney Sweeney's boobs aren't that big. And the community note was, yes, they are.
By the way,
So-
that soap might be a real thing. I don't know. I saw it and I thought it was a gag.
I've
It was
seen
real.
it other places besides Geeks and Gamers today. But I got to agree with Hammer Biotech. What is this about a daily Sweeney service, and how do we sign up?
Well, I'm not gonna out the guy who's sending me the stuff. I just think it's funny, because it's like it just started popping up one day, and it's like every day it's like, here's another one. It's like, thanks, dude. But
This is the definition of don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
right. It's just one of those things where it's like I just threw it out there as an offhanded comment one day, and now everybody just assumes that's my thing. I just lust after Sydney Sweeney. So, yeah, it's fun, and that's part of why I love the audience. You guys are great. I appreciate
You guys
it.
are the best audience out there. But
You are
Lauren, the audience loves you. We love you. Tell the fine folks where they can find more of you as you have to head out on this fine night.
I am on this stream pretty much every Thursday. You can find me on WDW Pro's channel quite frequently, usually on Mondays and Wednesdays. Pretty soon, you're going to see me and Kevin on a show on Tuesdays and Fridays, starting in July. And you can see me with Lou Wasserman's Ghost and Hangry right here with the Genre Guys. You can find me at Lauren Connor 9030 on YouTube for reading Star Wars EU books, or you can find me at Lauren Connor on X.
I am cycling through right now. I don't see any Lauren centric super chats. So
There's
Lauren,
a member chat, a 1 month member chat from somebody named Floral from Under a Rock.
No, that's Wilton. This is Wilton commenting.
Does Lauren's mom have any good and embarrassing stories? Did you catch him doing anything dumb? And go.
Well, it's been a great time with you guys. I hope you all had fun. I'll see you all real soon.
See you, buddy.
Classy exit.
Oh my goodness. Fantastic. Hangry table. I know you have to get going too, but I believe there was a super chat in here for you as well. Liquid Fox of $5 Canadian said, "You're just jealous, Hangry. Men are great. Look at me. I mean, look at Kevin. Damn good man. Terrible taste in turtles, but damn good man."
Yep, beefcakes all around. I gotta say.
It's just more of this argument about Leo versus Raph.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Yeah, Kevin and I are very firmly in the Leo camp, and everyone else is wrong.
As a man myself, Liquid Fox, I do also, I do love myself, so there's no fear about that.
I was literally
Bite your tongue.
Yep. Family show. Hangry, tell the fine folks so they can find out more about you and what you're up to.
Well, as Lauren said, I'm part of the Genre Guys, and I'm also honored to be part of the Lost Guys with Mr. Nolan and Martin Stone and Trish, who's not here, and I think she's become an official Lost Guy now. And then when things are kind of busy in my life at the moment, but when I have a chance, I really appreciate the open invite to pop into the show here, Marvin. So thank you.
You're always welcome, buddy. You're always welcome. You never have to ask. You always get the link. So make sure you come here whenever you want to come here.
Very appreciated. Have a great night, everybody.
Hangry.
That guy right there is my favorite table, and I was just offered a free dining room table by my mother-in-law that my wife almost refused. I literally hear my wife on the phone with her mom, and she's like, yeah, well, we just have the kitchen table. That's fine. Oh, what are you going to do? Like a garage sale? And I said, what are you talking about? And she was like, oh, my mom was going to give us the dining room table. I said, yes, we want it. Like, so do you understand how expensive dining room tables are? Like, I think it's because like it's been the dining room table that like her mother has like just kind of always had, and so she's just kind of like thinks it's like whatever. And I'm like, that's a nice table. It stood the test of time. Of course we want it's free. Like, oh my goodness. So, but despite the fact that it is a free dining room table, a hangry table is still my favorite table. William Thompson also sent in $20. Says buying a super chat for the XP.
Nice.
Yes, there is that thing that YouTube is doing now where it assigns XP to people and ranks you guys. I never rank you guys. I don't even look at the rankings because you're all equal in my heart. Those of you that super chat more are probably a little higher, but you know, I'm kidding. I love our audience, every single one of you. John Williams for 499 says, don't forget Rolling Coward on Dumbledore being gay by removing most mentions of it. I'm talking about the Fantastic Beasts movies, despite JK yelling at how gay he was. Well, that was the thing. She virtue signaled so hard about how gay he was, and then the movies came out and they very clearly didn't want to go there.
Well, no, I would actually push back on that because didn't they have the unbreakable spell or whatever between Dumbledore and his love interest?
Anyone can do that. Dumbledore and Grindelwald had a blood pact. That doesn't mean you have to be, you know, doing the horizontal mambo in order to do it. It's a blood. You had to mix your blood and cast a spell. No, but they do mention it. I think there's a line. There's a very forced in line there in the last movie about it. But Liquid Fox for $5 Canadian says, you're just, we read that one already. JJ Gosling for £10 sterling, that's proper money, says TV is a better format for books. People kept complaining about what was left out of the films. JKR kept quiet about Snape is to protect the Rainbow Mafia targeting the show more than they have. Yes, I do agree with that. And I do agree that TV is the superior platform from a storytelling perspective because you have the gift of time. I think that's why when this was first announced, I was all for it because I was like, oh, we're going to be able to hear about Spew with all the house elves. We're going to be able to, you know, get more into Ludo Bagman in the fourth book. Like there were entire characters like Winky the house elf completely cut out of the movies. And we never even learn in the movies that Harry's invisibility cloak is the cloak of invisibility from the Deathly Hallows. Like there's so much left out that I was like, oh, good, we can finally get this. So you're right, JJ Gosling. Ryan Damon for $5 says, do people really want Black Snape to call Lily a mudblood? Yeah, no, I don't want that either. And Ryan Damon for $5 says, I was expecting Fantastic Beasts to be an epic World War II series and was fully disappointed in every possible way. Yeah. I
did think it was interesting though that they did reference Scamander having served in some capacity during the First World War.
That was interesting, yeah. And though, look, I will say there was no replacing Johnny Depp. In that second movie, he was so good as Grindelwald. But if you have to replace Johnny Depp, Mads Mikkelsen was not a bad choice. It's just he just wasn't as good as Johnny Depp was in that role. But I thought he still did a very good job. It's just a matter of like I can't appreciate what we have because I know what we had, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So all right. So next on the list, one of the things that has been driving me absolutely crazy has been The Last of Us season 2. I was really just like perplexed as to why people were watching. Well, apparently they didn't. So The Last of Us season 2 finale ratings revealed a major drop as HBO spun a 55% audience decline as a success. So according to data shared by HBO and reported by Deadline, the season 2 finale drew 3.7 million cross-platform viewers. Hey, isn't it kind of weird that HBO Max can report on cross-platform viewers when it comes to The Last of Us, Kev, but not for AEW Dynamite?
Because no one watches it.
Oh, right. So while that number may seem strong in isolation, it represents a 30% drop from the season 2 premiere, which brought in 5.3 million viewers. More significantly, it marks a 55% drop from the season 1 finale, which drew 8.2 across platforms when it aired in March of 2023. Now, why was that? Look, we might all dislike Peepaw Pedro Pascal, but at the end of the day, he did a respectable job as Joel in the first season, despite the way the show was written. And the decision to get rid of Joel was a controversial decision, guys. So I'm just gonna pretend I didn't even do it. The people abandoned ship instantly when that happened, just like they abandoned the game when it happened in the game. It is a terrible, putrid, disgusting tactic, especially in the game, because in the game they lied to us with aggressive, deceptive marketing by showing Joel in later scenes in the game that he never actually appears in. So, I mean, this was always going to fail. But the media has decided apparently that this is the hill it has to die on, because Rotten Tomatoes proudly touted, guys, that The Last of Us Season 2 is certified fresh with 94% on the tomato review with 238 reviews. What they failed to mention is that the audience score is 39% with 5,000 reviews.
Yikes.
With the tomato scores, how many reviewers, the professional reviewers, are going back and reviewing after the entire season is over? Because so many of these get a review based on the first 2 episodes that these people got screeners for, and then nobody ever comes back and readdresses it and goes, oh, by the way, this turned out to be crap.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. That does happen. I mean, look, there were many reasons why people don't like this. The Joel thing is just one. Oh, wow, it's 37% now. It's even worse. There's the Joel situation, but also it's just, look, I thought Bella Ramsey was a very respectable actress in Game of Thrones when she played Lyanna Mormont. This just was not the role for her. She doesn't look the role. She doesn't act the role. The role was written terribly because it's written nothing like Game Ellie. It's because as much as the plot of the second game sucked, Ellie was still pretty cool in that game. And it was still fun to play as her in that game. But in this one, the first episode, she's tapping out a guy 3 times her size in a training exercise.
There's other stuff we can talk about too. Like, they went out of their way to not have spores be the impetus for the zombies. And now we reintroduce the spores in the most illogical way possible because they realize that they don't have a threat element to the show. It's just like this is a bleeping train wreck, and you all know the Rotten Tomatoes, the critics versus the audience score. It's a massive disparity. Oh no, here we go again. No one's shocked by any of this. Listen, Bella Ramsey, she was great in Game of Thrones, but she was also like 3 years old. She was a kid actor, so like that's not a really high bar to have to get over as a child actor. I don't think anybody foresaw her face being as wide as Haley Joel Osment is right now. But it's like it kind of is what it is. The girl who plays, what's her name? What's the bad guy's name?
Abby.
The girl who plays Abby looks like freaking Ellie. It's just
I know.
It's just
she doesn't look like Abby at all because Abby is supposed to be a Hulk.
Well, exactly. And that was a hill to die on, right? That completely and totally unrealistic physique that he had to battle over. For some reason didn't give it to her in the game, but all this stuff had to happen. The show was just very poorly cast from the get-go. They chose to drive the show off of a cliff. They knew this was going to happen. This was just arrogance plus hubris plus a little bit of stupidity. And they got what they deserved. This should hardly even be a story.
I know generally we don't try to make fun of people's appearances on the show, and so I'm asking this not in a making fun of her appearance. Does that girl have the same disease that 80s actor Robert Zadar had?
It looks like it's.
I do feel bad that I made fun of her face.
No, I didn't think it was that. What you said was that bad. I'm seriously asking the question. I just don't know.
I hear you because I actually did wonder that myself the other day when I was watching Maniac Cop.
It's at the end of the day, every issue with this show boils down. It's the fault of one person, and when you can actually trace it to one person, and that is this guy, Neil Druckmann, because he knew that this plot didn't work. He watched it happen in real time and stubbornly stuck to his guns. And the next season, season 3, is all Abby. Ellie's barely because they split. There's actually what they're doing supposedly is splitting season 2 into 3 seasons. You have the Ellie half, the Abby half, and then I guess they're taking the end and somehow stretching that over 8 episodes, which I can't imagine how you can do that. It's an episode.
We need to be realistic. No one's watching this show. It is a financial albatross. So if they're stupid enough to try to drag this out and make the villain, a sympathetic figure for an entire season, it's not going to work. People are already tired of that crap anyway.
Well, the thing
it's
is,
Warner Brothers. They are stupid enough.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. That's the thing. Well, I mean, that's the like we were talking about in the H-cast earlier. We were talking about the $8 billion potential budget for Harry Potter, and I said, the only reason, like, because I don't really believe it. I don't think it's. I think that the Daily Mail was wrong, but I'm like, if there's any studio dumb enough to do it, because like Disney, for all of their faults, they're not dumb. They're like insidious and evil. Like they do what they do knowingly because it's all for political reasons or for for some kind of social cause. Warner Brothers is just dumb. And it always has been.
Here's the big difference though. Warner Brothers, at least with Harry Potter, you could stop and go, they're taking a really big gamble. So it's worth the risk. There is no reward in The Last of Us. They knew The Last of Us 2 was a failure walking into it. And there was someone there higher up who could have turned to Druckmann and said, no. We're going to stretch this Joel thing out because people like them together. And if you really have to do this, we still got to milk this for 2 whole seasons before you off this guy.
It's literally the emotional heart of the story is Joel and Ellie. It's the father-daughter relationship. Yeah. And you start season 2 with her hating him because, God forbid, he's a positive male role model to her. She hates him in the beginning, and then he dies immediately, and then it's all her trying to avenge him. So it's nonsense. And so Druckmann, so they're working on this new game, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, which is Naughty Dog's next big single player game. And it looks like Drek. It looks like another girl boss game, bald female protagonist. Looks like it's going to be sacrilegious. And they asked Druckmann about the backlash the game is already getting. And he basically said, I don't pay attention to what critics say. I just think artists need to just stay the course and just continue to do their own thing. And I'm like, well, that is clear that you are using house money to blow through your vanity projects and you don't actually care about the paying customer. Am I wrong, guys?
I completely agree.
By the way, guys, if you are still going to Rotten Tomatoes for your reviews, I recommend you not do that. This show recommends the wonderful critic list, which is a fan-oriented, it is a social media movie review site. And right now you can see it's got a 27 voters and 58% audience score on critic list. It's where you get a lot more based takes on that. You see, I have a thing on there. You can follow me on there. I haven't written many reviews on there, but I want to start doing more. I had the good fortune of meeting the gentleman that runs critic lists, and he's just an awesome guy. And highly recommend critic lists. It's a fantastic platform. All right, guys, we have got pretty much one more story to go here tonight that I wanted to touch on. So let's have a look at this, because the Avengers Doomsday delay could cost Marvel tens of millions, according to former creative insiders. Now, the recent delay of Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars may be more than just a calendar shuffle. According to two former Marvel-affiliated creatives, the sudden shift in release dates could signal deeper issues behind the scenes, and the financial consequence might be significant. Now, as reported last week, Doomsday is being moved back. That is going from May the 1st to December 18th, 2026. And then you have got Secret Wars delayed from May 7th, 2027 to December 17th. That leaves Spider-Man Brand New Day as the only other confirmed Marvel Cinematic Universe film set for 2026, with a massive year-long gap between Fantastic Four First Steps and the next MCU movie. But of course, Spider-Man might also see a delay since the movie is set to release between the two Avengers films and was rumored to play integrally into their respective plots. Now, Dan Wiesenmeyer, an industry veteran who worked as a story artist in the original X-Men the Animated Series, has hinted at trouble behind the curtain. He said someone will break the details behind the new MCU film's delay soon enough, and it'll be juicy. That studio does not want to give up that early May launch window this far into production easily. Going to cost them in multiple ways, but we're not done. Our old friend Bo DeMayo, the former showrunner for X7, sounded off on this as well, because Bo does not pass up any opportunity to give Marvel the business. And he says, agreed. When I was on Blade, because Bo also was one of the writers on Blade, so the process of delaying even a month was incredibly difficult and expensive. It's also incredibly risky and complicated logistically. We're taking tens of millions to delay, sometimes, especially with a cast this expensive and large. And then he said, there's also something much larger going on here beyond just Spider-Man. And then he added, Marvel's recent flops have convinced Sony to reconsider how much they need Marvel Studios. I'm still hopeful and confident Fantastic Four can turn this downward spiral around, but it won't. But that's an interesting thing to note there, guys, is that it's possible that Sony might be like, nah, like, we don't think we need you anymore because you're dropping the ball over and over again. One of the only big successes that they've had since Endgame was a Sony movie. But on the other hand, I think Sony doesn't let that gravy train go, because they've got the greatest system on earth here now, because they have $1 billion franchise and Disney does all the work. Martin?
Compare this to what we had a few years ago when they were trying to initially, get the Spider-Man. I remember when there was all that drama going around at Twitter on the time, when they were all like, oh no, if Sony doesn't work out this deal with Marvel, we might not see Spider-Man in the MCU anymore. We've already grown to love Tom Holland. Is this the end of Tom Holland as Spider-Man? Marvel Studios had all the leverage back there, and because the MCU was on top. Nowadays, audience are so bogged down by all this lore. We've seen now with even a film that's been getting some pretty decent reviews, such as Thunderbolts, which is literally supposed to be the new Avengers. If that's not doing well, that means this whole franchise is going in a not great direction. And say whatever you want about Sony, they have made some of the dumbest movie studio decisions on the planet. They're trying to catch up with Warner Brothers on that. But the reality is, they have the rights to Spider-Man. And Spider-Man is still, even through all their stupidity, an evergreen property that people are going to spend big money on. Spider-Man is still a more profitable character than Iron Man and Captain America. And it's going to come down to, if they got the leverage, the fans have been vocal about what they want. They've, completely dropped the ball with, say, Madam Web or Kraven the Hunter. They've greenlit awful movies, but they had some decent ones in there with the Venom trilogy. There's a reason there were 3 of those things made, because they did well enough. If you have all these people vouching for, hey, we want to see more grounded Spider-Man movies, we'd love to see Andrew Garfield back, I think they finally have a ball in their court. And for them to completely delay that, all at the fault of Marvel, this wasn't due to the result of some global crisis going on. This is by the sheer stupidity of Marvel and not being able to bring this thing together. And I think Sony might be one of the major factors suffering through this. And I have to give them props here, because whether it's through their own intentions or not, Marvel screwing the pooch is going to help them a lot. And I think it's going to be a huge factor going forward.
So here's the thing about that. I think that in the beginning when, Sony tried to pull out of that deal and Tom Holland had to talk them all back into it, I think it was a situation where Marvel kind of held all the cards. They were like, the MCU is the biggest thing in the world, and Spider-Man is an integral part of it, and you need us to have $1 billion movie. Now, when we go back to the negotiation table here, now Sony gets to be like, Spider-Man is one of the only profitable heroes that you have left that can sell an Avengers movie, and you need us to use him. You need our say-so to use him. So now what are you going to give us?
I think that's a good point. I think that we're seeing that Ruffalo's supposed to be in the new one.
Yeah.
At the end of No Way Home, Peter is left with nobody in his life, and he's met these other Spider-Men who have lived their lives and they're happy now. Although Andrew Garfield's character doesn't seem exactly happy, but he's dealt with his stuff. I think that the next Spider-Man movie should not have been another team up. It shouldn't be with other Avengers. It should just be Spider-Man becoming the Spider-Man we know from the comic books.
And I agree with you, Martin. But now I think that the nature of the deal that Sony has with Marvel is that there's always, because if you look at the Spider-Man movies they've done, there is always a major Marvel cameo in the movie. In the first one, you had Iron Man. In the second one, you had Nick Fury. And then in the last one, you had Doctor Strange. So there is always a major Marvel cameo somewhere in that movie. But I agree with you. We've kind of moved beyond honestly, I think Mark Ruffalo detracts from this movie with his presence rather than adds to it. Because I think a lot of people are going to be like, oh, Mark Ruffalo, here we go. Because Mark Ruffalo, after this election cycle, has become so synonymous with politics that I don't even think he's synonymous with the Hulk anymore.
Well, and Edward Norton was just a better Banner.
Oh, so much better. He embodied the puny human thing so much better.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I think the ball is in Sony's court, and if I can't imagine Bo is just saying that out of his butt. Like, there's got to be something that he knows that is saying that. And by the way, guys, I'm pretty sure Kevin's in a hotel with spotty Wi-Fi, so it's very possible that we knew that there was a possibility he was just going to lose connection. Apparently, it happened on the Pro Show last night, also. So we gotta. But guys, I don't know, man. Tens of millions of dollars lost to move these movies back. Plus, now you're inconveniencing Sony if they in fact have to move Spider-Man back to fit in story-wise with these movies. Because my take on this was, this movie is going to end with Spider-Man getting the black costume, which is going to take him into Secret Wars, because in the Secret Wars comic book, that's where he got the black costume to begin with. So yeah, this is not good. Marvel Studios is not in a good position. Go ahead, Nolan.
And to your point of how important Spider-Man is to this, to the general public, do they know anything about Secret Wars aside from the black suit? Let's be real here.
No.
I don't think
the Beyonder and the black suit. And there's the one iconic image of when they're all trapped under the mountain and the Hulk is holding it up. I love that.
Oh, show. Maybe they know a bit about the Clone Saga.
Yeah. Honestly, I
thought you meant knowing things about Secret Wars. Sorry.
Oh, maybe I misunderstood. Were you talking about knowing about Spider-Man or Secret Wars?
No, Secret Wars. Because I'll be real, as someone who actually collected a lot of the Spider-Man comics, I got like the one where Spider-Man marries Mary Jane finally. It's actually my favorite superhero comic series. I can't tell you anything about Secret Wars besides the black suit. And I consider myself a pretty decent Spider-Man fan.
If you try to go back and read Secret Wars, you have to remember the comics were written much differently back then. Like everything is written in the same voice. There's no real character voices in there. Like for all the Stan Lee is a genius talk that happens, he was not a very good writer. I mean, like whenever my buddy and I talk about Secret Wars, we always talk about this one line where like something happens where like Cyclops like deflects Wolverine, and Wolverine goes, "Oh, Cyclops, you have deflected my shot." And I was just like, "Oh gosh, this is painful." But like,
I just need to hear that in the 1990s Wolverine voice now.
in the whispery one or the Pride of the X-Men one when he was an Australian for some reason.
Either.
Wait till I get me claws on him. He'll be talking out the other side of it. All right. We got one more super chat to get through tonight, guys, and that is Liquid Fox for $2 Canadian. Says Neil Cuckman, you mean? Well, yeah, probably. So that does it for tonight, guys. Fortunately, we lost Kev, but I know he would say that, he's with us on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and he is over there with the Pro Show on usually Tuesday mornings and Wednesday nights. And of course, he's going to have that show with Lauren coming up very soon. Martin Stone, Nolan Thunder, you guys got a little show called The Lost Guys. Martin, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, The Lost Guys is where Nolan, Hangry, Trisha, and I all get together and we talk about things that people have forgotten, but we want to bring back. For instance, this week, T3PO is unveiling our episode on the Crow TV show, The Crow Stairway to Heaven, which was actually Nolan's first exposure to any Crow property at all.
Yes. I liked it. It was different. And, it didn't have any Led Zeppelin, but I was happy.
We've been on hiatus for a couple of weeks now with new episodes, but we're going to be recording some on Monday. So those are going to be coming out on That Park Place, the channel. Those are member exclusive for a few weeks before they go out on T3PO.
Awesome. And Nolan Thunder, you've got your channel, your video game channel. Why don't you tell us a bit about that?
Thank you very much, my friend. I've actually was working on it yesterday evening. I finally reached out for some lines I'd been needing to get done for a few months now. We're aiming in here on almost a year of production on this crazy thing. It's going to be the season finale of my series that explores media mysteries, particularly from video games to urban legends to random internet mysteries you may not have heard about. It's presented like those old alien shows you used to see on History Channel, and it's a mix of documentary, B-movie horror, and comedy. It has props, an 80s synthesizer soundtrack. It's a lot of fun, and I put a lot of work in those. So if that seems like something that might intrigue you, please check it out with my series Lost in the Files. You can find it on my YouTube channel. It's pretty simple. It's at Nolan Thunder. And if you like a good mystery and a rabbit hole, please check it out.
All right. Awesome, guys. And of course, guys, for me, to check out next week, we're going to have our 1-year anniversary celebration where we'll have some big announcements. We'll have, some games to play. Hopefully some special guests will drop by. It's going to be a great time. Definitely one that you don't want to miss. So thank you guys for joining us tonight and this and every week. Thank you to everyone who chatted, everyone who super chatted. Big thanks to all of you out there in the chat, because without you, there is no Tooney Town. So from all of us here at the Tooney Town channels, I'm Marvin the Movie Monster. Now get out of here! Now, Perry the Platypus, feel the wrath of my thank you-inator!
Thank you, you piece of trash.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you! Oh, I suppose you want me to say thank you. Well, you know what? Saying thank you is like jobbing.
Thank you!
I got a little message. Thank you.
Ooh, yeah!
Oh, thank you! Oh, thank you! Thank you! Thank you! Thank you! Thank you!
Thanks? For what? Hi-ho, from all of us here at Tooney Town, thank you!
And viewers like you. Thank you.